in the day when you could have two big bosses. So Aaron
So we were such big deals, we didn't even negotiate with the head cheese.
No, we negotiated with the vice president, not the president.
Yeah, so Aaron claims she put us together.
Yeah.
But then last night, Kim texted us and said, I'm sitting with someone who claims that they take credit for putting you together. And it was none other than the great Dennis Glasgow.
Yes.
Of Dennis Glasgow fame.
Of Isaac, or it was not, it was Furness, Glasgow, and Souk. At one point.
That was a show.
That was a show.
It was you and Furness, and then they put, I was your update guy.
Yeah.
And they put Dennis in there.
Dennis was the wild card, like when Dennis Miller went into the Monday Night booth.
And that whole deal came about because Dennis's wife was a Hammer saleswoman in the company. Yeah. And so they moved to Portland. She moved to Portland, and they were like, what are we going to do with Dennis? Hey, let's put him with Souk and Ian. Well, that didn't last long. But then Dennis became the program director after the great Alan Davis left. Yep. Now, I thought what you were going to say is Alan Davis also claims to have put us together.
He does.
Because he didn't.
He claims it, though, because he hired the two of us, and he claims that it was his vision that ultimately led to us,
No.
Yeah, that's what he claims.
I don't.
That's what he claims.
Dennis was our PD.
Yes.
So he could take credit, and Aaron was our VP. She could take credit.
Well, now we got.
I don't know about Al.
Well, I'm just telling you.
But Alan's big advice to me when I first got into radio was, Isaac, don't F up. And then he'd walk out of the room. Yeah. Isaac.
Yeah. I will say, Alan Davis does get, I guess, if you want to get the credit or blame, he's the one that insisted on me being Big Souk. And I was like, can we do anything other than that? And he just loved it. He was Big Souk. He got very excited.
Well, it's got a ring to it.
Well, there you
But
go.
now it needs a rebrand.
Now it needs a rebrand.
To bring it back full circle.
Well, I will tell you originally, because he said I needed a nickname. He thought Sukanik was a terrible name. He's like, no.
Well, it's not a great radio name.
No, it's not. He's like, you are not going on the air. He said, I think, what did he say? He said, it's the most generic Mickey Mouse, like Jason. He's like, no. And then he said, no one can pronounce Sukanik and no one wants to. So I was like, well, thanks. I felt like Richie Valens, like going into like the music business, like, well, no, that's, and what did he say? The other one too, like Sukanik was, he goes, no one knows where Sukanik's from. He's like, it's a terrible name. So I think at the time, I said, what if we went, cause he wanted he wanted big in there. And I was like, do we have to do the big thing? And he was like, yes. And so I think I went with, I was asking, what if we did Swede? Because I'm Swedish.
Big Swede?
Yeah, I was like, what if we did the Big Swede? And I thought I had him on that. And then Furness, who knew me from my college days, would always call me Souk. He knew that people called me Souk. And I think he's the one that said it. And when Alan Davis heard that, he was like, the Big Souk. I love it. I'm gay. I was like, what? I thought we were going with the Swede.
God,
no.
Schultzy, coming in hot.
Big Souk.
Yeah.
And
well,
here we are 20 years later.
Don't F up.
Yeah. The magic of radio.
What a
right?
radio man, Alan Davis. You'd go in to get some words of advice for Alan, and he'd get up and walk out. But now I understand what he was doing.
Yeah.
He didn't want to waste his time.
No.
It's all about reps, man.
Yeah, you sink or swim, man.
I respect it. Yeah, it's like there's nothing I'm going to tell you that's going to make you better. Just go do it. And do it over and over and over.
The boat's either going to float or it's going to sink, but it's not going to happen until it gets out in the water. So shut up and start paddling.
And don't F up.
Don't F up.
We got good news and bad news.
Yes.
Do you want the good news first?
Yeah, give me the good news, because the bad news is it's bad.
Hi, Schultzy.
Hey, guys.
There's our bad news. No, I'm just kidding.
That I'm here.
Hey, shocker.
I'm just kidding.
Schultz wearing duck gear.
I'm ruining everything.
A little upset. I thought maybe some Mariners gear today, but here we are.
Nobody is more consistent than Schultzy with duck or Mariner gear and Dutch Brothers.
Yes.
Every time.
Every time.
Every time.
And wanting to be a sports radio host. So I think I show that by wearing literally duck or Mariner gear all the time.
So apparently Buckley is sick.
Yeah, he's claiming he's got some sort of like Andromeda strain he's blaming preschool. I think he's doing that one. He's going, this little rat kid got him sick.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't think that's too far off. I avoid kids around this time of year just because
literally,
twice this year I was around kids and got sick both times.
I avoid kids at all times.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's not a seasonal thing for you. It's more just...
They're disgusting.
They are. They're like runny nose booger factories. Yeah. And I do like kids. Like I don't mind. Like no one lets me watch their kid, but I'm actually really good with kids. I raised a couple, but everyone's like, oh God, no. But I will say there is nothing more disturbing and vile in this world than when a little kid puts their hand on your face. The amount of clammy. No child has ever put their hand on your face and didn't have just an evil feel vibe. Exactly. You instantly know that something terrible has occurred. And then you just wonder what it is, and you don't really know. And then you wake up the next day and you're dying. And that's just welcome to the world of having children.
Stupid kids.
Yeah, it's bad.
So the good news is, well, one, Schulte's in, but two, Joey Harrington returns today.
Yes.
He's been off for 2 weeks. If you've been wondering where he has been.
Around the globe.
He's been in Italy. And so we will interview him for Storytime at 5:30, and we will talk about none other than
Italy. That is everyone I know has gone to Italy, and I just because I've gotten to go to a lot of cool places, and I feel like I'm just a loser because I'm the only one that hasn't been to Italy.
Well, you're not a loser, but you need to get it on your list.
I know.
Italy's wonderful.
Everyone that goes, it's like, oh my God, it's the most amazing place. And then I'm like, I'm going, and then I book a trip and it's not Italy. And then someone I know goes to Italy, and I start thinking, why didn't I go to Italy? I'm missing out. I want to wear a fedora shirtless on some sort of catamaran, Asachi style. That's probably where Asachi was born.
Dare to dream.
Yeah.
Isachi.
But I'm no Asachi, which is why I can't be in Italy.
Well, let's get you a rebrand. Maybe you can come close.
The big Swede goes to Italy?
So here's our bad news. And there's really no great way to say this. I just have to... we want to point you to the GoFundMe because it's important to help out our man. But Mike Lynch, our old producer, who moved on to Blazers Radio,
and one of the sweetest, nicest men you'll ever meet.
He has been diagnosed with ALS, and without going into too much detail about what that means, it is not good. No. We are. The word I use is gutted to hear this. Mike is such a sweet, sweet, sweet and kind human, and did a great job for us for many years. And we had a lot of fun with Mike. We have a lot of history with Mike, and he was wonderful. Is wonderful, and he is fighting a mean battle with ALS right now. And there is a GoFundMe that he has put out today. So I think for a while he wasn't ready to go public with it, but they did today, and I want to send you to it. So if you go to our X account, my X account, or the fans X account,
we're all gonna.
Everybody's throwing it out there, and it's a pretty easy link to help Mike fight ALS.
Yeah, and
brutal.
Yeah, there's no. I don't even know. I don't have words. This is my. And I think I've talked about this with all the head trauma and the links from football. This is my greatest fear. This is my, this is something that I absolutely dread and I have nightmares about. And to have someone that was so close to us for so many years, I just don't. Like I said, I don't have the words to articulate it. And
well, life is very unfair.
Yes.
And Mike, man. For all the stuff that he has been through and is going through, he is such a kind, warm-hearted person, and it's just unfair. Yeah. Let me read you what he wrote on Twitter. He put this on his Twitter account. His account is @MikeLynch27. He said, "Hi everyone. I know it's been a long time, but sadly I am returning with bad news. A few months ago I was diagnosed with ALS. If you are willing and able, I have a GoFundMe below. The full details of the disease and story are there. Sadly, this means the end of my radio career. I am thankful for all of those who listened over the last 12 years. I am also thankful to the fan and the Blazers for believing in me and helping me grow in my dream career. This has been really difficult for me. I am devastated and overwhelmed. I appreciate if you reach out, but please be patient, as it's hard for me to respond to everyone, and I'm not always ready to talk about it." So that's what Mike said today. If you can help, link to the GoFundMe is on the fan X, my X, Sook's X, everybody's X, and Mike's X. So we're thinking about you, big fella. Yeah. All right, our poll question is next. It is 3:13 on the Fan.
Dirt and Spray. Now.
line 503-864-6326. Your dollar goes further at Vancouver Ford. They treat you right before, during, and after the sale. VancouverFord.com. All of you sending your well wishes to the text line, we appreciate that. Send them to Mike too.
Yeah.
Hit him up.
Yeah.
He'll see him.
Yeah.
It could help.
Yeah. I really struggle. I struggle with this one in particularly. It just sometimes when stuff hits a little close to home, and when it's something that you're particularly afraid of and you think about, and then it hits close to someone that you know. I don't know. At least for me, this is it just, I don't know. It rattles my cages, and he is such a sweet, caring man, and any way anyone can help. I know, thoughts and prayers. I always roll my eyes at, but I don't know what else you're supposed to do in a time like this.
Here's our poll question today. It is on X at 1080 The Fan. Just put it up there for you. AAA Heating and Cooling, family business, helping families for over 60 years. AAAIAQ.com. Today, let's go to yesterday's.
Yeah.
Because
Recap.
Yeah. That's what we do in radio. We recap.
Well, it's really all we do, right? We recap the days, the weeks, the months, the happenings.
Do you like? I was thinking
wildly speculate.
I was thinking about this today. Do you like pregame or postgame shows better?
Postgame.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking about the end of our show last night, where I was like, man, all the pre-draft NFL stuff drives me crazy.
Yeah.
And then I got to think about why that is. Like, why do you get? Because it's cool. Like, it's interesting.
Sure.
A lot of people are into it.
It's not yours.
No,
It's
I
not
just
your cup of
don't-
tea.
And I think it's just that it goes back to that. It's like anything that, like, I want data.
Mm-hmm.
Not that there isn't data on players going into the draft. It's just that I think it's more, sports is more fun to debate after we see a game or after we see a draft than before, because we don't really know anything. Like, all these mocks are annoying because it's like, you don't really know.
Yeah,
Why
but
don't we just wait and let it play out?
I don't mind pregame stuff too, because I do like talking about the kind of the styles make fights, right? So, like, for instance, me and Nemec were talking the other day about this, that like Brock Bowers falling in the draft to me seems insane. And I find it interesting because when I look at it, everyone loves these three receivers, right? Like, oh, you got to get one of these three receivers. They're going to go in the top 7 or 8. And we're talking about Brock Bowers maybe falling to 20. And when I look at today's NFL, I think I'd rather have a dominant tight end than I would an outside receiver. So much in the NFL now is about play action and controlling the middle of the field that I think that, and you were talking about this, like with the outside receiver, I'm not going to say that they're like not necessary, but I think they're overrated. And I think with the cover 2 and people rolling coverage that way, I love teams' abilities, and I think they're really good ones. Attack the middle of the field. See the Kansas City Chiefs. So I like stuff like that, where you can sit here and be like, well, I love these 3 receivers. And I'm like, yeah, me too. But look at this tight end. And then that can lead into other conversations like that.
I get it. I mean, there's a lot to chew on.
Yeah.
No question, pre-draft. I just think sometimes it can be a waste of time.
Sure.
Because
Well, it's like, what's Minnesota? Minnesota can't go get J.J. McCarthy. Well, see if they do
What
or not.
if they
because
do?
Exactly.
Yeah, why do you say that? I mean, it's funny because, like, I don't know. It's like you could listen to really, really, really the smartest sports people preview a game, and every single thing in there could make total sense. You're like, wow, that's a really good breakdown of this game coming up.
And then not
one of those things happens.
Nope.
So it's like, why do we
let's
just wait and see?
2 of the highest scoring offenses in the league, right? 2 unstoppable quarterbacks, and then the game ends up being like 13-10.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Didn't
like,
see that going.
No. Whoops.
So it's easy. So I just like post game better than anyway.
And I'm with you.
Anyway.
I'm with you.
Anyway, I don't know why we were talking about that. Yesterday's question was, which statement best describes the direction of college football? 54% said disaster to ruin. Doom and gloom.
See, I don't understand that, but
54% said disaster to ruin, 33% said radical but necessary, and then only 13% said a better system for all.
do people really think that arguably the second most popular sport in the country with these massive TV deals and massive TV numbers is going to go away? Like, come on, people.
Yeah, I don't know if they're saying it's going to go away. I just think they're saying their fandom,
Well,
it's just different and they don't like it as much, maybe.
Well,
Maybe that's what they're saying.
The TV ratings would beg to differ. I know Oregon State and Washington State fan, you can be like, well, I'm never watching. But guess what? The rest of the country is, because Michigan and Alabama did a gargantuan number. Like what was I want to say it was like 20. I'll look it up. I think it was like 26 million. I mean, Caitlin Clark and Iowa, like unbelievable, 12 million, and you're like, holy crap. Well, yeah, college football does that on a regular basis with their big games. Like it's not going anywhere. It may shift, it may change, it may change your fandom. Maybe individual pockets kind of drift away, but this doom and gloom about college football, I do not get it. We will get, whether you like it or not, and you have said this multiple times, and you're 100% right about this, we will get better, bigger, and more frequent matchups. We just will.
Well, I feel like if they do it right, I know it's clunky and it's going to take forever and it's annoying and weird, and we don't like change, but if they get it right, college football, the amount of growth potential that college football has to become just a juggernaut is, I think it's greater than any other sport. The NFL is already there. I think the NBA has a lot of potential, but they can't get out of their own way.
Nope.
Their product is, I don't know, there's a lot of reasons why, but the product is not, it's just not that good. College football, the product is there. The school brands are there. They just need to harness particularly a postseason format that really gets people going, much like the basketball does. So if they can figure all this out, I think it's going to be better for all. Yeah. And that includes players because they're going to get a cut. And I just think it's going to be better for everyone, fans. But product-wise on the field, I feel like, again, they've got to get it right. It's going to be clunky and it's going to take time. But once they get there, it could be a much better product that sees ratings that, I don't know if it would ever rival the NFL, but I don't see why not. It's the same sport.
I will tell you that Michigan and Bama peaked almost 33 million people. 32.3 million people tuned into that game.
Amazing.
So, sorry for anyone that is like, doom and gloom, college football. Well, 33 million people would disagree with you when you're watching Michigan and Bama play.
The other thing I think that happens when they flip the script on this and it's maybe a little bit more professional-like league, as it were.
Super league.
Is it stops becoming so regional. Right now it's regional because of conferences and rivalries, but all that stuff is kind of going away. And so if they put everybody into one pot, much like the NFL, you suddenly care about like in the NFL, why do we care about Jacksonville playing Tampa? Yeah. But
it matters.
In college, we're going to start caring more and more about Clemson playing Florida State because it matters to your team. Yeah. It's not just an ACC game that doesn't matter to you.
Yes.
So I just feel like
becoming less regional will grow the sport.
Yeah,
people think 100%. It's going to kill the sport, and it won't.
100%.
It's going to grow it. It's going to kill it in certain factions, but what you lose in again, a regional fan, you're going to gain on a national basis.
And at the same time, when you add a college football playoff that's expanding, those games become more impactful.
Exactly. You will get more of the Michigan Bamas, and you'll get those more throughout the regular season. You're going to get more of them in the playoffs. You're going to get more upsets. It's just the game is going to continue to grow.
I mean, if you think about college football, it's not that many people care, except for the fans of those schools, about 80% of the schools. Yeah. I mean, it's really about the top. Like the NFL, there's only 32 teams. Yeah.
And so college football is about 20.
Right. So if you take the top 32 of college or 20, that's what everyone wants to see. Yeah. But in college football, there's 120 schools. So there's so many games that, some of those don't get great ratings because, why do I care if Kansas State's playing Michigan State? Yeah. Even though it may be a top 25 matchup. It's like,
The big boys will always drive the ratings. Just like, again, I'll go back to the Caitlin Clark thing. We're going to sit here for the next year and talk about the growth of women's basketball, and rightfully so. It's a sport that is growing by leaps and bounds. But if you think that women's basketball games are going to be regularly getting 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 million people, you're fooling yourself. It got that because of a giant matchup between a generational star with a great villain on the other side, and there was just a great dynamic, and it popped. Like you can find me two much better teams that play in the final, and they're not going to draw that rating. And so the more you can put those games out there, no offense, but for Cal fan or Oregon State fan or Iowa State fan that says, well, I'm just losing interest in college football. I get it. But the more we put the marquee programs with marquee players, the more Ohio States and that are on national TV, those are the ones that are going to get 25 million people that are going to tune in. And it sucks for some people, but that's how you grow it. That's why the NBA wants the Lakers and the Celtics in the finals. It's why Major League Baseball wants the Dodgers and the Yankees. And for everyone that gets pissed about it, why is it when those teams end up on the stage with the big stars and the Ohtanis and the Magic Johnsons and LeBron James, why do they constantly get bigger numbers? Because you may hate it that they continue to get all of the love, but the numbers show it. More people are interested in those big stories than watching the Cleveland Guardians or the Miami Marlins or the Utah Jazz or anyone else.
Here's today's poll question on X at 1080 The Fan. If football ceased to exist, which sport would get the most attention from you? Baseball, soccer, basketball, or hockey?
Where's rugby?
Vote and vote hard. I didn't put rugby. Well, you can only do 4.
I know. Damn it.
I debated on hockey.
Yeah, it's not making it.
Yeah, well, the 4th is not going to win. It's either baseball, soccer, or basketball.
Yeah. Doug
Because I
Gottlieb.
thought about golf, and I
Yeah.
thought about hockey,
No,
and then I
it's
thought about lacrosse, and
cricket,
then I thought about cricket,
billiards.
billiards,
Yeah.
puffer.
Yeah.
What else? Tennis?
Isn't-
Did I mention
Well,
tennis?
poker was growing for a while.
Isn't the Iditarod technically a sport?
I
Yeah,
did
throw
it
that on there. Yeah.
Put that on there.
Hey, it's the only sport where you're going to see someone shoot and butcher a moose in the middle of the contest. That's happened at 2 a.m, but
So, yeah,
it's the NBA.
basketball.
Yeah, it's basketball.
Really?
If football went away and see that basketball would suck up that vacuum. Well, I guess would
Whoa.
be sucked up by the vacuum. It would fill it. It's I don't
Why? Why
I
do
don't
you
know
think
if
that?
it would. Well, one, I think already it's probably the second most popular sport. It's got the biggest stars. It's an entertaining product when done right, and it's accessible. Like everyone can play it. You look at baseball. I think you look at hockey. I think 2 of the big reasons why those sports don't really take off is it excludes too many people. If I'm in my neighborhood and I got 4 kids, and by the way, that's even stretching that I can get 4 kids to get off the PlayStation to go outside. I can't play a baseball game really with 4 people. I mean, you can go in the back and dink around and play wiffle ball and stuff, but you can't play that. You certainly can't play real football with 3 or 4 people. I don't even really need anyone. I just go out to give me a hoop and a ball. I don't have to have a field. I can find a hoop anywhere. I get one friend and we can go one-on-one. I just think it's the same reason why soccer is popular around the world. You can go to any reach. Like when you go deep into the parts of Mexico or when you're down in Latin American countries or when I'm over in Asia, you can be walking through just an absolute dive neighborhood and there's just a dirt field somewhere and you will find 3 kids with what looks like a soccer ball and they're out there kicking it around. That's the NBA. It would fill that gap if football ceased to exist.
The thing that basketball has going for it, both college and pro, is it is only a couple of hours.
Yeah.
And soccer has that too, where it's continuous, like it's not slow.
Yep.
And I think that's important for the youngs,
Yes.
and their ADHD in these
Baseball
these times.
baseball is not getting its hooks in with the young kids.
Yeah, I feel like baseball is it's a different type of game. It's a daily game. It's slower, and it's just not poised to be the most popular in the United States, even though just looking at a list, the CEO World magazine did this.
Yeah.
They looked at the most popular sports in the U.S., percentage of adults. Football, obviously, number 1 at 36%. Number 2 is actually baseball.
Yeah.
12%.
Okay.
Basketball, 11%. And soccer, 4%. I think soccer would rise. And I feel like basketball, because of the nature of the game, a little faster paced, games are done in a couple of hours, I feel like it would overtake baseball. That's how I would.
Well, if we actually invested, Major League Baseball invested in like inner cities like basketball did with the boys and girls clubs and tried to get that accessible to kids as opposed to just putting a bunch of Central American like academies to go farm talent from there, baseball would be bigger here. But they missed the boat on that one like 10, 20 years ago, unfortunately.
And I just think society, and it's just...
It doesn't really fit with how we operate right now.
Nope.
But that's not to say that doesn't change over time. I mean, football's popularity has... Think about football's growth over the last 75 years.
Well, if you go back 75 years, the 2 most popular sports in America, it wasn't even close. It was boxing and it was baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
And boxing,
so you never know.
And boxing now is, I'm not going to say it's dead, but
Oh,
You
it's,
know,
it's pretty much dead.
There's a handful of guys that make a bunch of money, and the rest are kind of, are unknowns. And baseball still thrives, but it thrives as a business, but it is the definition of regional. Baseball is huge in some places, not in others, and it just, I don't see a path for baseball. If you kick this forward 50 years and I was betting on futures, I think I would almost bet on soccer's future in our country than I would baseball.
Well, I think soccer would have the most room for growth.
We just have to find a way to get better players. That's our biggest.
Well, better games, better players.
Yeah,
better
we
games.
need better players, better games. And
We like to watch the best.
Yes. Well, it's like if you had, I know this is
Bro.
so stupid because there's not multiple, but look at what Messi did when he got here, and this is an old kind of, I don't know, way over the hill Messi, not way over the hill, but certainly not his prime. Dude, that guy farts and 1 million people will tune in to watch it. Like he is a planet unto himself when he gets here. Imagine if you got 4 or 5 players in their prime that weren't Messi level, but at the best in the world, and you put them here, the amount of interest and the growth you could have in that, it's just, when you're not the best league, and by the way, you're not the second, the third, the fourth, how many tiers do we have to go down? And I love going to the Timbers. That is, Timbers and Thorns and Winter Hawk games are some of my favorite things to do. I love it. I love going to those games. But I mean, the Winterhawks, at least, then those are kids. So the MLS is professional. But how many tiers do we have to go down from the Premier League and the Bundesliga before we get to the MLS? It's not even the second best or third or fourth or fifth. I mean,
isn't that part of the problem with soccer? It's like
there's a lot of them.
There's like, I don't even know what tournament and what league and who plays the why. What are these good?
No.
Where does the MLS rank? I don't even know.
It's
kind of like boxing in that way. Didn't they have like 18 belts in boxing?
Oh,
and
God. There's the
all
WBO and WBC and this
and the different
that.
welterweight.
It's just, it's
too confusing.
It's too confusing.
All
I
right.
did find someone on World Soccer Talk. They ranked
WST.
They ranked. Care to guess?
They ranked what?
All the leagues where Major League Soccer.
Is EPL the best league?
Yes, the Premier League. Then La Liga.
La Liga is number 2.
Yes,
and where is La Liga?
La Liga is the
where's that?
That's the Spanish one, isn't it?
I don't know.
La Liga is where like Barcelona and Real Madrid play, if I'm not mistaken.
All right.
Because the Premier League is the English with that's like Man City, Man U.
So MLS. Well, okay. Answer me this first.
Yeah.
How many leagues are on the list?
They 30 of them.
Okay, MLS is probably 20th.
No, we're a little better than that. They put us at 14th.
Okay, so middle of the pack.
Middle of the pack. But it's not
All right.
good when you're like,
right.
you're the 14th best in the. We're right.
But we have Messi.
We're right below the Russian Premier League.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Russian Premier League.
I feel like we can.
Swiss Super League.
Ooh.
Then us.
Hey, Super League though.
Although right behind us is the Turkish Super League.
Well, I feel like the Russians. I feel like we can jump a spot.
Yeah.
I feel good about that. We can overtake the Russians.
Well, the Saudis are trying. The Saudis are 26, but they're trying to.
Well, they're trying to pay a bunch of guys to go over there and play.
And yeah, they are paying them.
Well, why don't we do that?
We don't have $1 trillion.
Yeah, we do.
We gave Messi a lot. But...
We print money.
And by the way, this isn't like someone said, what is this based on? This is the world, the quality of play.
Sounds subjective to me. I think the MLS is number 3.
They did the average club ratings for every team in the domestic leagues. This is April 3rd, 2024.
If football ceased to exist, which sport would get the most attention from you? Baseball, soccer, basketball, hockey? That's our poll question. At 1080 The Fan on X, brought to you by AAA Heating and Cooling. And when you vote, please vote hard. A Final Four look ahead, both men and women. Next, here's Schulte.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by the Portland Winterhawks. Playoff hockey is here. Reserve your tickets with the new Chase the Dream playoff packages or learn more at winterhawks.com. First on the Fan, the Portland Trailblazers taking on the Wizards in Washington, D.C. tonight. Just 6 games left in the regular season. Malcolm Brogdon, Shaden Sharp, Tamani Kamara, Ant Simons, and Matisse Thybulle all out. Jeremy Grant doubtful, as well as Justin Minaya and Ibu Bonji marked as questionable. Washington, a 2.5-point favorite now. Tip-off set for 4 p.m. on Root Sports Plus. Elsewhere in the association, the 76ers have been fined $100,000 by the league for violating injury reporting rules regarding the return of Joel Embiid to the court on Tuesday night. On the college hardwood, you got the women's Final Four tipping off tonight. Undefeated South Carolina taking on NC State in just about 20 minutes. Then Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes taking on UConn at 6 p.m. Both games can be watched on ESPN. And the Seattle Mariners in Milwaukee for their first road trip of the season, facing off against the Brewers. Logan Gilbert and Freddie Peralta on the bump for that one. First pitch set for 5:10 p.m. on Root Sports. The Mariners also making a roster move today, placing first baseman Ty France on the paternity list and recalling infielder Samad Taylor from Tacoma to take his place. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube and Twitch. And now, Window Nation brings you on-demand videos. Watch Window Nation's window into 1080 The Fan.
The Fan 411.
Log on to 1080thefan.com now for your chance to win a pair of tickets to see Breaking Benjamin, Stained, and Daughtry when they come to Modus.
Final Fours this weekend.
Yeah, we got the Iowa game Iowa Page Buckets, Iowa UConn's going on. God, when's that tip? It's tonight.
It is tonight.
It is. Do we know what time that starts?
It says 6 p.m., but it's kind of after the
6:30.
Yes.
Yeah, because
there we go.
North Carolina State, by the way, 2 Final Fours. NC State, go figure. And
UConn.
Yeah, and UConn.
So the men's and women's UConn teams are both in the Final Four, and the NC State has both their men's and women. When's the last time that happened?
I don't know.
2 in the same year.
It's got to be
Or
a while.
4.
But the North Carolina State South Carolina one goes on at 4, which I would be fascinated. One, I want to see the UConn Iowa number. Like how much of a drop is that going to be from Iowa LSU? But at the same time, how bad is Iowa UConn going to kick the living hell ratings wise out of North Carolina State South Carolina?
Well, Friday at 4, at least Pacific time, so 7 back
7
east. The other one, the Caitlin Clark game, is late back east.
I know, and I bet you it still doubles.
On a Friday night.
It'll double the North Carolina game.
And then the LSU Iowa game was Monday night?
Yes.
Wasn't that Monday night?
That
was Monday.
It was Monday, and it was going on during our show, so that would have been, I want to say that probably started around 4 o'clock.
So I bet
Pacific.
you, I don't know what the number is going to be tonight, but I bet it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Iowa UConn.
Yeah.
But it's got some things working against it. It's late Friday night.
Well, and
I think Sunday's game, the championship, long as it's South Carolina and Iowa,
it'll be massive.
Massive number.
Massive.
Probably beat LSU's. LSU Iowa.
I don't think so.
Really?
I think
it will.
I think the Iowa LSU game was the perfect storm. I just don't know if you're going to be 12.3 is massive. I just don't know if you're going to get that because as much as
that's what she said.
As much as South Carolina is they're undefeated and Dawn Stalin, it's a known factor. There's not an Angel Reese. There's not a Kim Mulkey. You just don't. There isn't the star power. There isn't the revenge factor. It'll do a big number, but I think we've seen the peak. Everything came together with that perfect storm for the LSU Iowa game. And if you're the NCAA or you're the TV networks, you're just praying that it's Iowa and South Carolina. You imagine if that is North Carolina State and UConn, dude. That.
What if it's North Carolina?
Wah.
What if it's North Carolina State and UConn in both?
Oh, that'll be weird.
Because it could be.
Yeah, it could be. I don't think it will be, but But we'll see. And then I'm also interested to see what happens next year when Clark is gone. Doug Gottlieb, I hate to do this.
Oh my God!
I got to give him.
So wait a minute. Before you even say it, you have agreed this week with Clay Travis, Kim Mulkey.
There was someone else too.
There was a third person in there.
There was a third person.
You gonna add Alex Jones to the list there soon, buddy?
Shut your hole. I don't remember.
Who was the third one?
There was another one.
Buck would know. And now Doug Gottlieb?
No, I know. I know.
That guy's insufferable.
He is. He was in for Colin today, and he made a really good point.
Sports point?
He made a sports point.
What's his sports
son
point?
of a bitch, Doug Gottlieb. Well, again, he was talking. He feels the same way about the women's game that I do. Sports growing, awesome. Love to see it. Way better, skill, and people are paying attention to it. But we're jumping the gun here a little bit with the Caitlin Clark and the numbers, and it's like, oh my God, like the women's game has arrived. No, it hasn't. And he brought up he was a Southern California kid, and I think it was in 1994, Wayne Gretzky got traded from Edmonton, and he ended up in LA, and he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. They made a Saturday morning cartoon with Wayne Gretzky in it. Remember that one? It was Bo Jackson, Wayne Gretzky, and like Michael Jordan or something. It's called like the All-Stars. He was on cereal box covers. Nike made a pair of high tops that looked like skates, and they were the Wayne Gretzky model. And he hosted SNL, and they made it to the Stanley Cup Finals. And everyone was like, holy crap, this is the start of hockey in the United States. And it led to expansion teams in Florida. It led to expansion teams in Arizona. And it was like, hockey is going to own LA. And Gottlieb said that he was on vacation at Lake Havasu. And he said everyone got off the lake to go watch Wayne Gretzky in the Stanley Cup Finals. All the spring breakers were like sat around and they watched it. And he goes, I couldn't tell you one thing that happened after hockey in 1994. I didn't, he goes, there is from 1994 to 2024. He goes, I could not tell you one thing. He goes, I think the Kings won a Stanley Cup or two back in a couple years ago. He goes, but I can't be certain, nor can I name you a player. And that was his point that was Wayne Gretzky in LA. And in that moment in time, there wasn't a bigger thing in sports. But there was no staying power to it. It wasn't. It was a moment in time. And yes, hockey grew and it did expand to some southern states. Some places it worked, some places it didn't. But the NHL thought this was their opportunity to grab, and they expanded way too fast and got too big for their britches. And they ended up really getting kicked in the junk for this. And that was his warning to women's basketball is, yes, your game is growing and people are paying attention to it. But you cannot think that what Caitlin Clark is doing right now and what Iowa is doing right now and what these TV numbers, that can't be the standard. That can't be what you measure yourself by. Appreciate it for what it is, celebrate it, try to grow off of it, but be smart about it. And don't do this is where women's basketball is. And this is what we were talking about when she goes to the WNBA. People are like, well, see, now the WNBA has lost money every year in its existence. And Caitlin Clark isn't going to change that. It's a slow build and it's growing.
It's a stair step.
It's a stair step. This is not.
Thanks, Doug.
This isn't a jump on the moon. And I listened to him, and damn it, if I just kept nodding in my car, being like, he is so right. And then that gutted me. It gutted me. Clay Travis, Doug Gottlieb, Kim Mulkey.
You're just. I don't even know you anymore.
What is happening?
I don't even know you anymore.
I give up.
That's going to be a poll question. I'm going to figure out who the fourth one is, and then I'm going to put it on the poll. Who is the worst person that Big Sook has agreed with in the last week?
I don't even know anymore.
Or what is worst? Who is worst to agree with?
Probably
Clay Travis.
It's probably Clay Travis. It's probably Clay Travis. I don't even know what to do myself. Like I'm
going to text Buck.
I'm in like an existential crisis right now because I don't know what to do. I just sit around. I thought I knew who I was. Apparently not.
All right. When we get back, well, I'm going to text Buck. I'm going to find that out, who that fourth person was. But also, let's get to the men's bracket. It is 350 on the Fan.
The original
The men's Final Four tomorrow, 3 o'clock, just after 3. These are going to be on TBS if you're looking for them. Because I guarantee you I would go to CBS and be like, where's the game?
Uh-huh. Is the Final Four on CBS?
Like I said, it's on TBS.
I'm sorry, not the Final Four, but the actual championship game.
I would imagine that's on CBS.
I thought
Monday
night.
night.
I thought they were flipping back and forth, doing.
Yeah, you might be right. I don't know.
What is the deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know. NC State, Purdue. NC State is an 11 seed, bros. 11. You know, I was reading an article in the Wall Street Journal. You know what they said?
No, I don't, because I'm not hoity-toity enough to read the Wall Street Journal.
God, it's a great pub.
Actually, it's really quite.
It's really good.
They do more than just finance stuff. They do a great job.
Yeah, their sports section is wonderful.
Yes. They
did a thing on the probabilities of NC State making the Final Four, and they said that the only other Final Four run that was this improbable was VCU, who was an 11 seed.
Yep.
NC State is an 11 seed. But what makes this way beyond VCU is that NC State had to win 5 games in the ACC tournament just to make the tournament. VCU was good. They were going to the tournament.
No matter what.
So if you factor it, so they did the numbers, and they factored in NC State winning 5 in the ACC tournament, 5 games in 5 nights to get in, and then 4 more to get here to this point. And they said it was a 1 in 23,000 chance. To put that in perspective, Alabama, who was I think they're a 4 seed or something.
I think there were 3 or 4, yeah.
And they're a 4 seed.
They're a 4 seed.
They're in there. They were 1 in 7.
Huh.
NC State, 1 in 23,000. This is the most improbable run of all time because of what they had to do in the ACC tournament well as the NCAA tournament.
Remember, the ACC tournament was 5 games in 5 days as well.
And they beat Duke. So in this run, they've beaten Duke twice.
Yep.
They beat North Carolina.
Virginia was in the ACC tournament.
And they beat Marquette.
Who was a 2 seed, I believe. The other one about that I would love to see the probability of this. Remember, in the semifinal of the ACC tournament, with like 8 seconds left, they were down by 3 points and had to foul Virginia. They fouled an 86 or 87% free throw shooter. He had not missed a 2 free throws in a row all year, and he goes down and he misses them both. He misses both free throws. They get it, come sprinting down the floor and huck up a desperation 3 that banks in to go to overtime, and they ended up beating Virginia. Like, what is the win probability down by 3 with 8 seconds left or whatever and fouling an 80+% free throw shooter? That win probability has to be like 0.001. I mean, it's so damn weird. And if they lose that game, they're not in. They wouldn't go to the ACC championship game, and there's 0 chance they get into the NCAA tournament. It's freaking nuts.
It is nuts. It's the most improbable run, but yet I don't know. They're playing Purdue, and we kind of want to see Zach Edey get a crack at UConn.
And the spread, by the way, Purdue's favored by 8.5.
Yeah,
like it's not. They don't think it's particularly close, and yet UConn's favored by 11.5, and theirs against Bama.
I'm rooting for NC State. I just think that Purdue has the only chance to really beat UConn.
Yeah,
and that's the main thing I want to see is UConn lose. You know, the UConn. So NC State and Purdue, 3 o'clock tomorrow, and then just short of 6, maybe a little after 6, Alabama, UConn. That's the men's Final Four. UConn, as Dwayne has pointed out on the text line, fun little nuggie. Do you like sports nuggies?
Love nuggies. Can I just say I love nuggies of all kinds?
Oh, by the way, squirrel. Geraldo Rivera was the 4th person you agreed with.
Son of a gun.
So we have Monday's poll question.
Which is worse?
Which is worse, to agree with Kim Mulkey, Geraldo Rivera, Doug Gottlieb, or Clay Travis?
Because I've done it all in the span of like
all
a week.
in a week.
I
God.
don't know anymore.
So UConn, both the men and women won their NCAA tournaments in 2004.
Yeah.
They both won the NCAA tournament in 2014. And do you know what year it is?
Yeah.
No, I'll tell you.
Oh.
Because it's a hard one.
Yeah.
2024.
This is like the whole even odd year giant thing. And now we're going to have
Yeah.
to hear about how annoying it is.
So every 10 years,
Yeah.
they both win it in the same year.
Book it.
Current odds of that happening, they're saying 12-1. I don't think it's crazy to say that the Yukon women beat Iowa. I don't know if they beat South Carolina, but
Can I honestly tell you that I know nothing about Yukon other than they have Paige buckets.
pedigree.
I do know the last couple years.
Well, Paige is kind of getting overshadowed.
Well, yeah. Well, she had she was Caitlin Clark before
Yes.
that, and then she got hurt. So a couple times. I just don't like a number of years ago. Like UConn just stomped a mud hole in everybody, and now we kind of view UConn as like yesterday's news. This happened to Tennessee.
Yeah. We're on to Iowa, man.
Yeah, we've moved on. We've moved on to Baylor, South Carolina, LSU. It's like, UConn. We forget that doesn't Gino have like 13 national championships? He's got like
Does he have that many?
He's got a lot.
So for Edie, the big kid at Purdue,
Who all of a sudden I think is becoming more likable. He went from like being at university hated, and now kind of everyone's like,
well, I just think you got to win. You got to show it on the biggest stage, and he is.
Gino, by the way, only has 11.
You idiot.
He sucks.
But seriously, like Zach Edey went for 40 and 16 the other night.
Yes.
I mean, if you like, people are going to respect that on the biggest stage.
Yes.
Like you can't just be called the best player, and then when everyone tunes in, you shrink.
Yeah.
You have to show it. This is why Caitlin Clark's so amazing. People continue to tune in for her, and she continues to
In
deliver.
the biggest game in women's basketball history, the most watched, she dropped 41.
But Edey is doing the same thing. Like he's amazing. 4 players have averaged 30 points and 15 boards or more in the NCAA tournament in the last 70 years. 40. Wait. 4.
I was going to say, 40 players?
4.
4.
Elvin Hayes, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, and
Bill Walton, Kareem,
Zach Edey.
Zach Edey.
Come on, man. This guy's awesome.
That is kind of,
That's an amazing
no
stat.
offense to Zach Edey, but one of those things is not like the other.
Yeah, I don't know what Wilt's doing in there.
Oh my gosh. And yet, most people think he'll go to the NBA and do absolutely nothing.
Well, anyway, I'm rooting for him.
Yes.
Well, actually, I'm not. I'm rooting for DJ Davis. I think that guy's
Are
great.
ya?
Or I mean, DJ Burns. I think he's great. I want NC State to win, but I really, bigger picture, if Purdue wins, I'm not going to be mad because I want to see Edey against UConn.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody thinks Alabama's beating UConn.
Well, and UConn's got their own 7-footer.
F them.
Awkward white guy they can throw at him. I have warmed to Purdue, and I've warmed to Zach Edey. I'm rooting for Purdue to
tired
win the
of
whole
UConn.
damn thing.
Get out of here, UConn.
Danny Hurley, screw you.
What if they switched coaches? How would they do? Gino coaches the men.
Oh.
Dan coaches the women.
Would Dan make all?
Dan bring his high tea over
I
to the
was gonna
women's
say, would he make everyone cry? Except Gino kind of feels like he's high tea too.
Yeah, I feel like Gino. You know, I have a guy. Oh, see, now I can't remember if it's positive.
You just said you had a guy.
Well, there's a guy, you know,
What kind of
but
guys do you have?
he's a club fitter, golf club fitter. He used to work at Nike, and he outfitted all these famous people and
Sure.
sportsmen
Yeah.
with clubs, and he had Gino Auriemma
Oh,
in his.
what do we get? What do we get from Gino?
Said he is wonderful,
Awesome.
delightful.
Love to hear that.
Loved him.
That makes me happy.
But everything else I've heard about Gino is
Well-
very negative.
Well, him and Calhoun didn't get along, and there was contention there because Jim Calhoun was a big deal and was winning national titles, and then Gino was on the other side winning 11 of them, and there was always a rub there. So I wonder how Gino and Hurley get along. If that's, I don't know what they're because the other relationship was bad. I don't know
so
what.
Gino's the alpha.
Yes,
I mean,
well, not according to Jim Calhoun, he wasn't.
Well, see, Gino's but for Dan Hurley, it's not like 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Dan Hurley, dude, Gino's the alpha.
Yes.
Now Calhoun had been there a long time and he won championships. That's a debate. But once Calhoun left, Dan Hurley comes in, and I think they had Kevin Ollie
Kevin
won a
Ollie
title.
won. Yep.
But come on, without winning a title, Dan Hurley is no Gino Auriemma.
Yes.
The king swinging D is Gino.
Yeah.
But now,
If he wins two,
if he wins 2 in a row,
and Gino hasn't won one in a while.
we might get a D off between Gino and Dan.
I still think Kim Mulkey would win that. She's more man than anyone else.
Wow.
Yeah, you heard me.
All right. Well, anyway,
You're telling me
should
that
be good.
if you had to tangle, you had to tangle with
I
any
want
one
no
of
part
those.
of Dan Hurley.
I want no part of Kim Mulkey. I think she would own my ass. She's terrifying.
I think I would take Gino before I'd take her.
she's legitimately scary.
I think Dan Hurley would bite my ear off.
You remember that SNL sketch? Did you ever see the one where who was the gal from Bridesmaids? McCarthy.
Kristen Wiig.
Melissa McCarthy.
Melissa McCarthy.
McCarthy,
Have you
yeah.
ever seen the SNL sketch where she plays the college basketball coach and they're
No.
investigating her? It is one of the great bits of all time. They do an outside the lines like ESPN report about a college basketball coach, and it's her, and she's got the short hair and the pantsuit, and she's abusing her players and beating everyone up. It is one of the funniest things you'll ever see. And whenever I see that, I just think of Kim Mulkey. I feel like she would throw a typewriter at me and tell me to lose my sass, and then I'd end up apologizing.
A typewriter?
I don't know why.
What?
I just feel like something would be thrown at me, and I would end up apologizing to her.
What?
Like, I wouldn't be jammed up by Calhoun. Like, I feel like if a man is yelling at me, I just look at him like, really?
He's an eye roll.
It's an eye roll. When Kim Mulkey and her pantsuit, her Kermit the Frog pantsuit starts yelling at me, I don't know what to do about that.
Girl, you something else.
And that accent, I think I'd shrink. I'd be like, sorry, ma'am.
All right. Feels like a good time to empty out the notes. Coming up next, all the wild crap Aaron Rodgers thinks. It is 4:06 on the Fan. what is today? Friday. Joey Harrington coming up next hour. If you've missed him the last couple weeks, he's been in Italy doing cool things.
Doing cool Italy things.
We're going to find out what he did. 5:30.
Vatican, perhaps?
Yeah, the Vatican's overrated, dude.
How did you spend a bunch of time there, or was it like you went there and like Grand Canyon it, where you're like, and then leave?
Well, no. We did everything you can do there. But they actually, the thing about the Vatican is they don't really let you see a ton.
Yeah, I want to see the catacombs down there. I want to see the Ark of the Covenant, and I want the ins. We've talked about this before, but if I could have the inside tour, like behind the scenes, and really see what, like, all access, the Vatican might be number one on my list.
Really?
You think
You
about.
want to see where the Pope
I want to
does
see,
it?
Well,
I guess he doesn't do it, but where the Pope sleeps?
No. I want to see what they have. It's an entire city. It's its own government. Supposedly they have things down there that like biblical things that we don't even know if they're real or they exist. Think about the files. Think about the church cover up. Like the dirt they have on people.
Yeah.
Like that would be, to see what they know and what they have. That would be the ultimate look behind the curtain for me.
Well, you can go there.
Eh.
And the Sistine Chapel?
See, that I'd like to do. Really? You're giving it me?
I mean,
is there more to do than just walk around and
No.
look at either of those
No.
places? Okay, then.
no,
Mm.
there's not. And the art is amazing, and the history is amazing. But
Because I've heard that, like, when you go to like the Louvre, like in Paris with like the Mona Lisa, like I've heard that there's so many people and it's so far away and it's behind the glass and everything, like that
Look.
it kind of loses some of the.
well, and you're talking to the wrong guy. I'm not a religious man. Like, there are people, you go into the Sistine Chapel, and there are a bunch of people in there with you because there's just people everywhere at the Vatican.
Yeah.
And there are people literally sitting on the side crying. Like, it means that much to them, But me? I'm thinking about where I'm going to get my next table wine,
Understand?
Yeah.
I still like if I go to Italy and hopefully one day I make it,
You will.
I will.
You'll go there.
The Vatican will be on my list. Like you
Oh,
can't.
you gotta go.
You can't not go.
I think you
right?
should go, but I'm telling you.
It's that whole like with the Goodwill Hunting. Like you can tell me all about like Italy from what you've read in books, but you can't tell me what it smells like in the Sistine Chapel. Like there's an element to that. Like just to stare up and look at that ceiling.
I don't remember what it smells like, but yeah.
Stale,
All right.
What like the stale what cigarettes from the people like all around you?
Well, there are a lot. I mean, you're in there with a lot of people.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just
You're-
you and Jesus.
You're rubbing elbows.
Hey,
with some,
Seuss.
you're rubbing some elbows with some sneakers. I know. It's like being on a Spirit airline flight.
And there's S-head kids running around, and they're bored as hell, like me.
Yeah,
I
that's
should have hung out in the kids' room.
you don't want to. Like taking kids to something like that would drive me insane. Have you ever been somewhere where you're trying to appreciate nature's beauty or like some art or whatever, and you got a bratty 5-year-old, and it's not his fault because he's 5, but it really does ruin it for you, and it ruins it for everyone around you. It's just like don't
Okay.
bring your kids to nice steakhouses, and don't bring them to like holy museums. Stop it.
So Joey Harrington will be coming up at 5:30. We'll get the lowdown on his Italy trip. I have had this in the notes all week. I've teased it before. We have not gotten to it, but we're going to get to it now because I did way too much homework on it to write all this down.
Yeah, you're not just gonna let this walk.
I'm not just going to delete it.
No.
All the wild stuff Aaron Rodgers thinks.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we have been teasing this.
He was on a podcast with a guy by the name of Eddie Bravo.
Oh yeah, I'm familiar with Eddie Bravo.
See, I don't know who Eddie Bravo is, but
You're not-
apparently he's insane.
I will tell you right now, having known you for 20 years now, I can assure you that you would loathe, and I mean loathe, the fact that his name is Eddie Bravo. Let's just say that may be the least offensive thing about him to you, and already you're going to roll your eyes with Eddie Bravo.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Well, he went on Eddie Bravo's podcast. It's behind a paywall. So a guy by the name of Sean Keeley of Awful Announcing did the heavy lifting for us. And I just dictated it, right? I just took it off of what Sean said. And there is a list of things. Dude, Aaron Rodgers is way further down the rabbit hole than anyone realizes.
I can see that.
And so we will get to that when we return on The Fan.
The Fan is live on YouTube, Twitch, and now Window Nation brings you the window into the Fan. On-demand YouTube video shorts with your favorite fan shows and hosts. The window into the Fan is brought to you by Window Nation. Get 50% off all styles of windows.
Have to.
And that was his main takeaway. His main takeaway was Rodgers is off his rocker. But I think Rodgers is smart enough to know that a lot of this is perceived negatively.
Mhm.
And he, being in the public eye, he's careful.
Sure.
And it doesn't seem like it, right? Because, he had the whole thing with the jab, and
But
he seems to just say anything that comes to his mind, and it gets him in trouble. But he's really actually quite
he keeps the really bad
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. He's smart enough to know not to say some things.
Well, and I wonder that all the time. Like it's like the whole Mel Gibson thing. Like you can put out some things that bother people, but behind the scenes you're way worse. And like I always wonder if that's the public, what you're willing to share with the public. God, what aren't you willing to share? It's like that's like the jab, and you know that the big right hand is coming behind it,
Yeah.
and it's always way worse.
So quite a bit of back and forth, he said, on COVID being fake.
Sure.
He believes COVID was a conspiracy, and he believes that the vaccine hurt people. He believes that it is possible that Anthony Fauci made the vaccine in order to get rich.
One of those.
And no one actually died.
What?
Yeah.
No one died?
Nope.
The million people?
Made up.
He thinks that the people being put in freezers in New York, that was
Key point here.
okay.
He believes it is possible.
You know, this is the other one that drives me a little crazy because, like, I'm not the biggest Joe Rogan guy, far from it. I've listened to him from time to time, but I can't much anymore because his whole thing, he hides behind the, I don't know, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Like, you promote some of the most awful Alex Jones level BS, and then you try to skirt.
You put stuff out there,
but
you don't own it.
Yeah, you don't own it. You're like, I could see it happen. I'm not saying that it is, but boy, there's a lot of questions, and I hate that. If you're gonna do it, own it. At least own it.
Yeah.
I hate that Mickey Mouse refusing to take a stand. You throw out really hurtful, awful things, but then you step back from the list.
Don't you think that's because these guys deep down know how silly some of this stuff is?
Well, I don't know. Then why are you? Then what? The flat? Then why?
I think it's just because they know it gets
I guess
clicks.
I
It's
don't
an
know.
audience. I don't know. Aaron Rodgers believes that immigrants are sent to the United States to infiltrate the military in order to gain citizenship and turn against the U.S.
Wow, that's
a
spectacular.
crazy one.
Yeah. He agrees with Eddie Bravo that there's no need for medicine or vaccines because your body just needs to push sickness out.
Jesus.
Rodgers takes that a step further than just viruses and germs, and he actually says, hey, have you looked into the same idea with parasites being in the same realm? Bravo then cited 20 studies saying that people can't get each other sick. That's a thing with these guys.
What?
Yeah.
So I'm just look. There's a lot of dumb happening here, but there's no need. So smallpox, that no, our body just polio.
So on this
No.
whole conversation, Keeley says that Rodgers then circles back to experimental gene therapy.
Oh yeah.
And he says that he believes that the COVID jab is just that.
Oh yeah.
And it changes our DNA.
Of course.
Quote, this is Aaron Rodgers' quote from the Eddie Bravo podcast.
And are we sure this is real? We're not getting ball sacked here. This is really Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah. He went and listened to it.
Wow.
Quote, they vaxxed millions and millions of Americans, right? Who knows what this is going to do to us? There was a gentleman early on, there's a video, you can find it. He basically admits if we called this what it is, it's experimental gene therapy, maybe 5% of people would have signed up for it. But when you tag the term vaccine to it, then you open up the whole other thing. So if you question a vaccine, now you're anti-science, now you're a tinfoil hat wearer, now you're a quack, and now you're anti-medicine, anti-health, right? And that's what they did. That's what they did. And then they can vilify whoever they want to vilify, end quote.
Okay. I still think that's not as look, that's one thing, but that's like the third worst thing that I've heard so far from him.
Yeah, well, let's see if we can find more.
Yeah, keep digging.
Rodgers follows up that theory with theories on how many young athletes who died were forced to retire.
What?
Because of the jab. He's blaming.
Died?
Yeah, he says that many young athletes who died or were forced to retire.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, sorry. It was because of the jab.
Of course.
He said he does not like Trump. And the reason he doesn't like Trump is because Trump did not drain the swamp like he said he would.
Mm-hmm.
He says that Trump kept Fauci in power and allowed him to make the jab and make millions of dollars. This is why he likes Robert Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
So that's how he got to that whole thing
Okay.
about being on his ticket. He's got this thing about not really knowing who's in power.
Oh,
and that's not a huge.
he's doing the one world government thing.
Yeah, he's just. I think a lot of people are like, some of these guys are puppets. Like they think Biden's a puppet or Trump's a puppet.
Sure. Well, this is like the whole thing. I said I've heard that Eddie Bravo does the one world government where he thinks that there's one controlling
group,
thing that makes all decisions
Like
in
the
the world.
Bilderberg group or whatever, right?
Yeah.
One
Well,
of
I
those.
don't think Rodgers believes that. He went into a further thing. I left it out of these notes, but he was talking about just all of the just various entities behind the U.S. government,
Sure.
or in and amongst the U.S. government that
yeah.
control things.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
He admits that his affinity for questioning things started with Lee Harvey Oswald. He says that he studied JFK extensively, and he was our last great president, according to Aaron Rodgers.
Makes sense.
He then gets into Election Day. Now this isn't that out there. He said he thinks it should be a national holiday. He thinks everyone should go and vote, and that votes should be tabulated that day. Then he goes into a deep dive on social media companies censoring certain experts who just are stating professional opinion.
Sure.
And now they get to Tartarian Empire. Now, have you heard of this?
I don't think so. Tartarian?
Yes.
I don't know this one.
This is a conspiracy theory. It is called the QAnon of architecture. It's something about buildings not matching or something. I don't know, dude.
Huh.
But Rodgers believes that the World's Fair buildings of the early 1900s were capital cities for the Tartarian Empire.
So aliens, what we're talking about,
I
right?
don't know.
That's the only thing
Honestly,
I can think of?
I can't.
Tartarian?
Yeah, look it up.
All right.
He also thinks the Rockefellers were a bad influence on humanity. He went into another thing about rich people and what they brought to society, and it's not great. So now, at this point of reading through this, I'm just exhausted and losing interest. Basically, it sounds to me like
yeah, by the way, the Tartarian Empire is a lost civilization. Like, it just sounds like, think about like the idea that they're the people that built the pyramids and all that and the Great Wall and all that came from a society that's been erased, but they were more advanced than we were, it sounds like.
To me, it just sounds like Aaron Rodgers believes pretty much everything he reads.
I can see that.
And when you are as skeptical as him, you start to read stuff that validates those conspiracies, and that's how you get down the rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Right? And then you start reading all the stuff that's way down in the rabbit hole that's not even remotely right, but you believe it.
Well, this is like it's the theory of that if you find out that someone lied to you, and by the way, governments lie to us and
all the time,
and science changes quite a bit. I mean, you go back and it's like the food pyramid or whatever. Like we know that stuff is constantly changing, or someone did have an agenda and push something in they shouldn't have. So and once you have been proven correct, or you find out that someone lied, then everything is a lie, and that's the dangerous part. And like you said, I think that's how this happens.
That's what he admits that's how he works.
Yeah. So
and it started with Lee Harvey Oswald.
Once you believe that they killed Kennedy and that it wasn't what was put out there, and that seems to be a fairly reasonable theory for most people. If they're willing to do that, then what aren't they willing to do? And that's the scary thing, is then everything becomes a conspiracy. And I just got to believe that is just exhausting.
It is exhausting. And what drives me crazy about people like him is they shift blame to other people who criticize their absurd beliefs.
Yeah.
Right? That drives me crazy. Look, believe what you want. I don't care. Maybe you're right. But don't just go, oh, he gets all whiny and bitchy about people who make fun of him for it.
They gaslight you into believing that you're the stupid one.
Yeah, it's like, F you, dude.
And because he has the platform to do so, idiots believe
Those people aren't the villains for pointing out that you think stupid stuff. If you think stupid stuff, you're going to get crap for it. God.
I still like that there's no need for vaccines or medicine because, well...
Yeah. Is that your favorite out of that?
That's my favorite.
No, mine is the Anthony Fauci got rich off of the pandemic. Are you freaking kidding me?
That's fact, you jerk.
No, okay, excuse me.
Follow the money.
He created the vaccine
Follow the
himself
money.
to get rich off of it, though. My God.
Hillary told us that. Follow the money.
Genius.
Let me read you. Okay, so that's the end of it.
All right.
I surmised it as best I could. It's really long.
Yeah.
That was Aaron Rodgers on the Eddie Bravo podcast, and this guy Sean Keeley went in and listened to all of it. So that's the gist. I want to read you though Keeley's last few paragraphs.
Okay.
This is the writer. He says, in all seriousness, one of the things that becomes abundantly clear when you listen to Rodgers talk long enough is that he does not know what he does not know, and he's more than happy to continue not knowing it. He sees so much of the world through the lens of someone who has never had to get in the muck and deal with reality. His common sense ideas have occurred to everyone, but he lacks the grounding to understand why they're not in place, not to mention who is responsible for that. And he presumes that it means everyone else must be dumber than him, rather than concluding that he needs to educate himself further. Not to mention, it becomes clear that while he appreciates being able to question things, he very clearly focuses that skepticism on specific areas and not others. He truly embodies the college sophomore problem.
Yes.
If nothing else, living your life as if everything is a conspiracy just sounds depressingly exhausting.
And that was my point.
And I thought that last bit of commentary there from Keeley was spot on. That's it. And it's just, and he doesn't see it.
No, but I love the sophomore college thing. Whatever book you just read
Yeah.
is what you believe.
Is your new big thing.
I read most of what I read or listen to. I do books on tape.
That's not reading.
Yeah, it's not reading. I
listening.
listen to other people read. It's almost all nonfiction. I'm very interested in ancient civilization stuff. And the biggest thing that I have to tell myself when I read something is it's an opinion. If I read a book on a lost civilization, you can't take that as gospel truth. That is one man's interpretation of it's not concrete. It's all theory. It's all it is. And so I absolutely see where people read what is a nonfiction book and they're like, well, that's true, I read it. Or because some of that stuff, by the way, some of the wackadoo conspiracy theories, you can watch something like on the fake moon landing, and if that's all you watch, you'll come away that the moon landing is fake. And then you can turn around and watch someone who rebukes and rebuts every point that they make, and you're like, oh God, well, you totally see the other side of it. People are really good at putting their point of view out there, and that's the college sophomore thing, is you just believe everything that you read that is contradictory to what normal society or the vast majority of people believe.
And that is a segment entitled All the Wild Crap Aaron Rodgers Thinks.
All right. Bye. At least he's not a flat earther.
That we know of.
Well, Eddie Bravo's a flat earther, so.
Is Eddie Bravo like Joe Rogan, but like times 1,000?
Yes.
Okay.
The best way I can describe it, I told Rob that off the air. I said, if you can't stand Joe Rogan, then you'll hate Eddie Bravo. I
don't mind Joe Rogan.
Eddie Bravo is Joe Rogan turned up by like 14.
Rogan actually does say some very crazy stuff, but there's a couple of smart things thrown in there. This guy sounds like it's just all crazy balls to the walls all the time.
All right, in the news is next. Here is Schulte.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Portland Trail Blazers taking on the Washington Wizards right now in D.C. Actually going pretty well for them at the end of the first quarter. They do lead the Wizards 32-27. DeAndre Ayton so far leading the way for your Blazers with 10 points. Elsewhere in the association, the 76ers have been fined $100,000 by the league for violating injury reporting rules regarding the return of Joel Embiid to the court Tuesday night. The women's Final Four tipping off tonight. Undefeated South Carolina taking on NC State right now, and it is at the end of the first quarter. We've now gotten to about 2 minutes into the second quarter, and South Carolina leads NC State, but only by 20-18 the score so far. Cardoso, the lead scorer for South Carolina at this point with 8 points. The Seattle Mariners in Milwaukee for their first road trip of the year, taking on the Brewers. Logan Gilbert, the Freddie Peralta on the bump, first pitch for 5:10 on Root Sports for that one. And also making a move today as well, the Mariners placing first baseman Ty France on the paternity list and recalling infielder Samad Taylor from Tacoma to take his spot on the roster. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
More, please. Golf in the Northwest with Jason Swigard is back. Saturdays at 8 a.m. before the Sinner and the Saint on Portland's Sports Leader. 10
All right, Joey Harrington coming up in 1 hour from now. Actually, less than an hour. Right now, though, April 5th, 2024, it is time for In the News. I'm your Noted Newsman. Yeah. Hello. What is going on? I'm going to start with bad news. Now, we opened the show with this, but I want to direct everyone to the GoFundMe again. Our friend, former producer Mike Lynch, has been recently diagnosed with ALS.
And you don't know ALS is
not good.
Lou Gehrig's disease, and it's a fatal condition.
So he has put up a GoFundMe. He announced it today on his Twitter, and he told us, after his diagnosis, but he didn't want to go public with it, and he went out today and put out a GoFundMe. His girlfriend did, or wife. I'm sorry, wife. Are they married?
I don't know if
they're married.
I don't know. I think it's just that they've been partners for years and years, but I don't think that neither one of them was married.
Yeah, so we want to help out Mike, one of the sweetest men you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
Not a mean bone in his body. Very unfair. You can go to the GoFundMe on our X account. Well, it's his GoFundMe, but we've linked it on all of our Twitters and the 1080 The Fan X account, or you can search Mike Lynch GoFundMe and help him out.
Yeah, if you just go to GoFundMe.com, if you don't have a Twitter account, just GoFundMe and just search, again, just Mike Lynch, and it's the first one that pops up, and it's help. The name of it is Help Mike Fight ALS, and they've raised almost $14,000 at this point. And if you don't know about ALS, the costs are staggering. Custom wheelchairs, breathing apparatuses, communication devices. It is, anyone that's been around this disease knows what it entails, and it's a, it's a losing battle, but it's a battle that you fight to try to get as much time with your loved ones as you can. And so anything anyone can do to help them out in their time of need and the burden, the need is great.
So we're thinking about Mike, and a lot of people have asked. They want a Mike Lynch drop today.
Yes, and we have many.
We do have many. Which would you like to request one?
My personal favorite. I have two.
Mike Lynch techno.
I love the Swinge. The Swinge is near and dear to my heart.
Okay, let me see if I can.
Do we have a Swinge?
We have it.
The Swinge.
I just saw it the other day. There it is.
That's swing, spelled SWINJ.
Love the Swinge.
So confident.
Love the Swinge.
I like this.
Head coach?
God. What?
He was so flabbergasted. I don't even know what you were saying.
I don't know.
And then this is my personal favorite Lynch drop right here.
Hi, I'm a balloon. Bye.
Again, no idea the context.
Well, and the two that I will always remember, Mike, is the
Mac and cheese.
Well, that's great. Mike, the Yarmakula.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got that. There it is.
You better believe I clicked on the ad, and it is yarmakula.com.
That's how you spell yarmulke.
Just the deadpan. And I will also never forget that Mike was right there with me over the tape measure. He was
in your corner.
He was in my corner, which only bolstered my confidence that it indeed was tape measurer and not a tape measure.
Yeah, you guys thought
Yeah.
you never knew that it was actually a tape measure.
No, it was a tape
You thought
measure.
it was a tape measurer.
And I dug my heels in, and
You were both like that.
And when Mike was like, "Oh no, it's absolutely," I was like, "See, me and Mike," and then, yeah, not so much. We took a swinge, and we missed.
We're thinking about Mike.
Yes.
It is National Deep Dish Pizza Day.
Oh, okay.
I like a good deep dish.
You know what? I don't eat a lot of it because it's like eating a lasagna, but occasionally when you have one, mainly when you visit Chicago, it's delightful.
It really is good.
Yeah.
Yesterday was National Burrito Day, and I went and got a free burrito at a local establishment for that. I wish that these pizza spots would do a free deep dish pizza today. That'd be a way to get me in there.
Do we even have a
Where do you get deep dish around here?
Yeah, I don't
know.
I don't even know if there's really
I don't know, bro.
one. But, if we're doing the Chicago thing, my daughter lived in Chicago, it's controversial. It's like what's the best Philly cheesesteak in Philly? Pequod's, in my opinion, if you go to Chicago.
What's it called?
Pequod's.
How do you spell that?
P-E-Q, like, I don't know, U-D-S, Pequod's?
never heard of that.
It is
Pequods, yeah.
Pequods.
Pequuods.
UODS.
Pequods Pizza.
It is because Lou's.
Oh, I think I've been there.
Lou's is there's a bunch of them.
Lou Malnati's?
Yeah,
Those are good.
Lou's
You can
is
order
great.
those here in Oregon.
Yeah,
Just order 'em.
they'll ship them to you. But I'm telling you, it's the best deep dish. As a man that loves pizza, and by the way, like there's a line for it. You got to wait like 45 minutes to an hour to get your pizza.
Boy, it looks legit.
But it is so good. And most Chicago people, this is where they're leaning. Yeah, there's some division, but I think the vast majority of people from Chicago will tell you, if you want the best deep dish, it's not Lou's, it's Pequod's.
Here locally, there's over on, I believe it's Alberta, up in northeast Portland. I've been to a place called Via Chicago with the wifey. It's not like Chicago deep dish, but they do in the style of Chicago deep dish. It's pretty good.
Okay.
What about the old Chicago? Was that the pizza company? What about that? Isn't that like the
Old
best?
Chicago?
Old Chicago.
Didn't our own Jeffrey Rust used to be a bartender?
Yes.
Yeah.
He bartended there.
He did.
Old Chicago.
Gotta call him up and ask him about that.
the Applebee's of pizza.
It is also Bell Bottoms Day, so wear your bell bottoms today.
Boy, do you have a pair of?
I do not.
My gal's got some.
Come on!
The BTJ's got some bell bottoms.
Yeah, they're coming back into style for the ladies,
Yeah.
the hots.
I think in order to wear bell bottoms for a dude, you gotta like be a member of the Black Crows. You gotta have like a slithery, serpentine kind of rock god vibe with like long hair. Like if you look like an extra from Almost Famous, you could probably wear bell bottoms. But if you're a man in his 40s, don't do that.
We had an East Coast earthquake today.
Did we collectively went? "God,
Well, we did out here because it was only a 4.8.
out there was it?
But to them, it's the biggest
4.8?
news ever. Because, everything that happens in New York is just the
Yeah.
biggest story of all time.
Roger Clemens was there when it happened, and everyone freaked out. 4.8, whatever.
Yeah.
Call me when you get to like a 7.
Well, they said that on the East Coast, if you get a 4.8, it's equivalent to about a 6 out here. I don't know why that is, but it is. And there are some pretty pretty good clips of people on TV shows and stuff. There's one from MLB Network. They were doing their morning show in their studio in New York.
So rocking
and
a
it
little
hit right as they were on the air, and they all feel it. They're like, "What is happening?"
To this day, I've never felt an earthquake.
Oh, you didn't feel the spring one here?
Nope.
Back
Never
in
felt
93?
one. Never felt one.
That one tossed me out of bed 30 years ago.
93?
Yeah. It was 92 or 93. There was an earthquake in the spring, one of those years, and knocked me out of bed down in Salem.
No idea. I've never felt an earthquake in my life. So
Knocked you out of bed?
I mean, I was tiny. I was, 3 or 4? But
how the hell do you remember
I was
something
thinking
when
of
you were 3 or 4?
I was thinking of like 30-year-old Schultz.
Schultz, you sure you just didn't pee the bed and roll out of it? You were 4.
No, I'm positive because I did not know how I ended up there, and I ran into my dad's room. I was like, "Dad, is everything? What the hell just happened?"
Dad?
Yeah. Hey, Dad, what the hell just happened?
Dad?
4-year-old Jordan.
5.6 earthquake. They said it was at 5:30 a.m. March 25th, 1993. Much of northwestern Oregon and southwestern Washington was shaken by one of the largest historic earthquakes ever observed in this region. It occurred near the small town of Scotts Mills, south of Portland.
I'm sorry, I'm questioning Schultz's. I'm questioning it. I think you were told that there was an earthquake. I think you were told that you fell out of bed. You were 3 years old when it happened?
About 4. It was 93, so I was 4 years old.
You were between 3 and 4. Were you actually 4 yet when it happened?
Yeah, I turned 4 on February 18th that year, so it happened after that.
Suspect, Schultz.
You know what?
4 years old?
Hey, tell him to shove it, Schultz.
You're not in my damn brain, all
what
right?
else do you remember from when you were 4?
I have, no other memories. There's maybe 2 vivid
Exactly.
ones.
This-
That's one of them.
Eh.
You're a jerk.
He is a jerk.
I'm claiming fake
Don't
news.
let him shame you, Schultz. You know what you know.
Schultz, you don't.
He doesn't know what
4 years
you know.
old.
He doesn't know what
You
you know.
remember what you told your
What?
dad. The hell you do.
You know what, guys? I just come in and I make stuff up every day. That's what I do.
That's
I
what
think-
Suk thinks.
I think your dad told you
Sucker.
that I think your dad has told you the story many times about how you came running in after the earthquake and you're like, it must have happened that way.
Hey, where do the Schultzes live?
Down in Salem?
Really?
South Salem, right off of the main drag there in South Salem. So near Sprague High School.
Okay.
That was where I grew up.
The Portland International Airport will debut its renovated main terminal in August.
Hey, so they say.
Yeah.
Again, a lot of
It's a 3-month delay following a series of construction safety scares that we talked about.
near misses.
Yeah.
I view the opening in August much like I view Schulte's memory of an earthquake. I'm not saying it didn't. This is my Joe Rogan. I'm not saying it didn't happen or that it's not going to, but I'm open to the idea that it's not going to open in August.
Might we have a world record monkey face prickleback?
Whoa. Boy, that seems like a...
Does that seem dirty?
It seems dirty.
It's not.
Hey, what did she do to you? She gave me a monkey-faced pickleback.
Prickleback?
Prickleback.
Even
Whoa.
worse.
Whoa.
Yeah, we might have a world record. That's next on The Fan.
This is the Fan's Window into Sports, a view into today's top stories, brought to you by Window Nation, online at windownation.com.
Rozier chasing around Max. Bam's responsibility to defend the 7-time All-Star Embiid, who hits the 15-footer. Those 2 shots from the same spot.
Right over the top of the jab step over Bam.
Joel Embiid, I don't know, 28 points, 29 points
Yeah.
last night?
Don't look out, or don't look now, but...
Don't look out.
Yeah, look out. Dude,
No, don't.
they are going to be such a nasty 7 or 8 seed. They were when Embiid plays, Philly is as good as anyone in the NBA, and he is back, and he's back with a vengeance.
The Fan's Window into Sports brought to you by Window Nation. Buy 2 windows, get 2 free. Plus, pay nothing with no interest for 2 full years at windownation.com.
The home of Dirt and Spray.
I'm Dirt.
Shaden's going to
only time for one more story, and this is in the news April 5, 2024. It is fish news, bro.
Oh, all right. Hot fish news.
Yep, hot fish news. This comes to us from the Oregon coast. We promise these words make sense in context, but April Fool's Day was no joke for one Tillamook woman who caught what could be a world record-setting monkey face prickleback.
Wow.
During a fishing trip on the Oregon coast.
Oh, now I have to look up a monkey face
Prickleback.
prickle.
Yeah, look at that. Look at that thing. It's a really weird looking fish.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That thing's awful looking.
Yeah.
Why is it called a monkey face? That doesn't look like a monkey.
The Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife say the angler Rebecca Jones started out April 1 digging for sand shrimp before heading to Bar View Jetty to catch rockfish for dinner. Now that is a good old-fashioned Oregon day right there.
Yeah, it is.
Instead, she caught a monkey face prickleback. It weighs 4.8 pounds. It is 28 inches long, which would be the new world record for the eel-like fish.
I was gonna say, like, it looks like an eel. It doesn't look like a fish. And if I caught a monkey-faced prickleback, I would just throw it back. I wouldn't keep it. I'm not gonna eat that thing.
It says, often called monkey face eels because of their eel-like bodies, they are a species of prickleback fish that live in Oregon's rocky shores within a small home range. More common along southern Oregon shores, anglers have reported catching them along the central and northern coast for the last 20 years. These hardy fish can survive out of the water for at least 35 hours.
Wow.
Yeah. So she is applying to the International Game Fish Association to see if her catch could be a new record.
So she knew that she knew what it was, and people were like, "Oh my God, that's enormous."
You know, I don't know.
Is it good eating?
You know, I don't know.
I'm looking here at the North Coast Journal, and apparently it's popular smoked. You smoke some monkey face prickleback.
You know, the current world record for that fishy fish is 3 pounds 4 ounces. This one's 4.8. Like that's a big ass monkey back prickleback.
Yeah, and it's
or monkey butt prickle face or whatever it is.
Yeah, monkey ass. It's really long considering how light it is. There must not be a lot to it.
Weird looking fish.
Very much so. Like I said, I know nothing about it, but if I was fishing on the Oregon coast and I caught one, that's going right back in the water.
And
I would have missed out on a record.
on a world record, Jace.
Yeah. And I judge whether a fish is good eating simply by looking at it. I make a snap judgment. I'll look down at that and be like, nah, it's no good. I'm not eating that.
Would you think piranha would be good?
No, I wouldn't at all.
I wouldn't either, but it was delightful.
It looks terrifying. And
it's dead.
There's no meat.
Yeah, it's very little meat. It's very bony fish, but
boy, can I tell
what you can get on the spine there? It's really good.
I will admit to this too. I get made fun of a lot at my house by the BTJ. I can't handle fish bones. It's a real.
You don't like that.
It's a problem. Like I feel like they're in my throat, and they're the little tiny ones, and I know that it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
I can't do it. Bony fish, I'll just stop eating them. Like, I can't do this. I'm a giant baby when it comes to the little fish bones.
Well, there is monkey face prickleback news that you didn't know you needed.
No, I did not know.
Let's get to the hot 5 at 5 coming up next. I've got Bronny James news. And the Blazers are in Washington? Or are they home? I don't even know.
They're in Washington.
No, they're on the 7-game road trip. I think they have 2 or 3 to finish the year at home. But we're mercifully coming to an end of this crap.
We'll get to all that. Oh, and the first Final Four game in the women's Final Four is at the break.
Yeah, it's a good one.
We will get to all of that next in our Hot 5 at 5 on The Fan.
It's time for High Stakes, a tasty look at clutch performances and the biggest games. Served up by Steakadelphia.
Right side on a line, tailing down. It did find grass, and the Tigers take the lead in the 8th in the home opener.
What the hell is going on with the Detroit Tigers? Really? You're bludgeoning my Mets. All of a sudden you can't lose. Who thought the Tigers were going to be any good? What's at stake? Apparently one of the most surprising teams in the bigs right now being, my Detroit Tigers. I think they're like 7-1 now. This High Stakes report brought to you by Steakadelphia, featuring authentic crazy good cheesesteaks full of cheesy goodness. Visit Steakadelphia on 59th and Powell, or the new location on Southwest 103rd and Canyon Road in Beaverton.
Join 1080 The Fan and Odyssey as we all do our one thing. Together, millions of things for our planet. This Earth Day, we're teaming up with Free Geek for our Tech Now Drive. On April 19th, bring your unused laptops, tablets, and mobile phones to Washington Square. Free Geek's goal is to divert technology that would otherwise be recycled or thrown away, refurbish it, and give it back.
Souk Isache, as I'm now called. Thank you.
The rebrand is complete.
Schultze's here today, in for Buck, who is sick.
Happy
Allegedly.
Friday.
Sick on a Friday.
Happy Friday to you. And there's Jason Sikanik, otherwise known as Big Souk.
I don't get a rebrand. Everyone gets a rebrand. Schultze, Asachi, I'm just sick. What is the freaking Panthers doing? What's happening?
Coming up, Joey Harrington's going to join us. He has been missing for the last couple of weeks, but he is back from his Italian getaway with his family, and we're going to find out how that went.
Don't look now, too, but the Blazers up by 10 at the half.
I'm not going to look now.
Break them up. Are you kidding me? Hey, Chauncey says next year they're going to compete. Playoffs, baby.
Okay.
He says next year, man, they're ready to not just compete, but really, really compete.
Blazers.
Yeah, that's coming from Chauncey himself.
Playoffs?
Yeah, I told Yahoo Sports that.
I'm sure he did.
Playoffs.
So it's been a tough couple of years for us. Now we've had so much influx on our roster, so much bad luck with health and things like that. But
Guys, move on.
He said next year we're healthy, we're better, our roster is ready to really, really compete. So,
well, what's he supposed to say?
Hey, the rebuild is over, folks.
It better.
Next year. Next year.
So Joey will be on at 5:30. Coming up tonight in the club, we've got a total eclipse.
Yeah.
Monday. They're calling it the total eclipse of the heartland.
Oh, I see what they're doing.
Do you see that? You get it?
That's so cool.
Really? We're going to call her up for this again?
Bonnie Tyler?
Yeah, we're doing it again.
Hey,
great song.
Good for. I'm assuming she wrote that. She didn't just perform it. Because if so,
I don't know about that.
If she wrote that thing, you imagine the residuals, whoever owns that, because that thing is everywhere.
Let's take a look.
I assume that she wrote it.
Jim Steinman wrote that.
Damn, Jim Steinman.
He also produced it in 1982.
Yeah, she's still getting those gigs, singing it though. Every eclipse that happens, she will sing it until she dies.
Bonnie Tyler.
When's the last time you saw Bonnie Tyler?
At the last eclipse.
Dude, I couldn't pick her out of a lineup. As a matter of fact, I was just Google imaging her. I didn't know that's what she looked like.
She aged well?
I mean, fine.
Ooh.
Girl, you something else.
I think Kate Bush aged a little bit better than she did. Let's just put it that way.
I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible.
Do we need to say this?
Yeah. Her face, it looks like someone is wearing a mask of Bonnie Tyler. Like if Bonnie Tyler died and you did one of those Mission Impossible masks and you just like stuck it over Bonnie, like I'm waiting for Bonnie Tyler to rip off her own face and be like, "Ha! It's me!" And then it's like Kate Bush. I don't know what is happening with it, but it doesn't look...
I don't think she looks bad.
I'm not saying it's just... That's not real, right? Remember in Total Recall when Schwarzenegger has that face on top of his and it like comes off and then it's a bomb and he throws it at the guy? That's kind of what's happening with Bonnie Tyler. And I don't know if that's surgery or makeup or what, but it's a lot. And... I would also like to add that she could be the star of the 700 Club. It's got a Tammy Faye Baker sort of thing happening. I could see her selling like silver or gold on a religious program somewhere and saying that Jesus loves you, but only if you give me lots and lots of money.
Every now and then I get a little bit nervous.
Why is that?
Well, that the best of all the years have gone by.
Son of a bitch.
I gotcha.
Boy, I walked right into that.
Gotcha.
Right into it.
All right.
I can't stop looking at Bonnie Tyler.
That's in the club. Right now, the Hot 5 at 5.
Hot topics, hot opinions.
Oh, golly, I'm hot today.
And hot air. It's time for the Hot 5 at 5.
That's hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 on Primetime with Isaac and Sue.
No, I mean it. That's very hot.
The Hot 5 at 5 with Isaac and Sue. Brought to you on The Fan by Victorico's Mexican Food, the most popular burrito spot in Oregon. Online at victoricos.com.
Number five. Also fun Bonnie Tyler fact. My favorite Bonnie Tyler song is not Total Eclipse of the Heart. It's Holding Out for a Hero from Footloose, also written by Jim Steinman.
God, that Jim Steinman, he's
that
everywhere.
That guy is everywhere.
Yeah, that's a good tune, too.
Yeah.
I forgot she sang that.
Yeah, Bonnie Tyler, by the way, 30 mil. It's good to be Bonnie Tyler.
Blazers are leading at the half in Washington. Now, remember, the Wizards have only 15 wins. You think the Blazers are bad? I give you the Wizards.
Yeah. Well, the Blazers already lost the tank off with the Hornets the other night, and they're not catching the Wizards.
No. So it's 59-51 Blazers at the half. DeAndre Ayton with 16, and there's that damn Danilo Banton
Delano
Banton. He has 12 off the bench.
Can't stop him, dude.
He's a plus 15.
I'm still mad at him I took a bunch of threes on him the other night and he only hit one. So
you should send him a nasty message on Twitter.
No, I'm not that guy. I'll seethe in my own head.
Schultz, I can see you being that guy. I can see you writing angry emails about a prop bet going south.
I mean, yeah, like out into the universe, but never too. The guy's playing a game. It's going to happen or it's not. Whatever.
It's not how some people view it,
No.
Schultz.
It's true.
What else was I going to tell you?
I don't know.
The Mariners visit the Brewers tonight in the city of beer. Ty France has gone on the paternity list because he's pregnant.
Congratulations.
Having a baby.
Oh, he's going to be a soccer player.
Well, I tell you, that Tampa Bay Colorado game was crazy today. The Rays scored 5 in the ninth to take a 7-6 lead, only to have Pete Fairbanks come in, walk the bases loaded, and then the next guy gave up a grand slam.
Gas can lost 10-7. Whoops.
The Cubs over the Dodgers today, 9-7. Shohei homered. The Orioles knocked off the Pirates 5-2. The Giants edged the Padres 3-2. And the Tigers beat the A's 5-4. Oh, and the Blue Jays shut out the Spankies 3-0.
More importantly, the Mets 1-1 right now in the fifth with the Reds. Conveniently left that out.
Yeah, who cares? The Panthers have extended the contract of Pro Bowl defensive tackle Derek Brown. 4 years, $96 million.
Not a bad little payday for that young man.
He's 26. Well, will turn 26 this month. He was Carolina's first-round pick in 2020. He's a beast.
Yes.
And they're giving him $63 million guaranteed.
It's funny they let Burns walk. I mean, they dealt him for practically nothing, and yet they inked Derek Brown to a big deal. You know, there are people that believe that, you know, defensive tackles are on the rise and that edge rushers. Just the idea that you would let a young player like Burns walk for such little compensation, then turn around and give Derek Brown. Like, if you're going to pay Brown, why aren't you building that whole defensive front? Again, confuses me exactly what Carolina's direction is, but.
Number two.
At the women's Final Four, they are playing these games in Cleveland. They are underway. Second half, 3-seed NC State has now fallen behind top seed South Carolina, 48-36. It was a 1-point game at half, but South Carolina has sprinted out in the second, or rather third quarter, 16-5. Cardoso, the best player for South Carolina, she limped off the court at the end of the first half.
Did she return?
She's back. Yeah,
Okay.
she's dominating. She is 9 of 11 for 22 points.
Yeah, I saw that. They were saying that her return was questionable. You know, it turns out she's just fine.
She taped it up, took a shot.
Probably. Take some Toradol on that sucker, retape it, and hey, man, Final Four, let's go.
Now, after this game, we will get some pretty good little TV tonight. Caitlin Clark in Iowa, the top seed, take on 3-seed UConn.
Go home.
Paige Buckets.
I'm gonna go home, get some Kung Pao, crack a bottle of scotch, sit my ass down, let's go.
Come too far together. Stop now. Let's do it. That's it, baby. Shot it from the rooftop. America's #1 fighting force.
Number one.
Number one.
Number one.
And number one, USC guard Bronny James is entering the transfer portal, but also declaring for the NBA draft. In your face, Big Zook.
So the kid that couldn't start on the, second worst team in the Pac-12 is declaring for the NBA draft?
Well, now, let's be fair about this. Tell the whole story. It sounds like what he wants to do is he wants to be evaluated by the league, and then he'll make a decision on next season from there. Many people believe that he will be back in college.
Well, I was listening today to some people that are in the know, and they are saying that LeBron James, there is a real thought out there, LeBron James is going to pressure the Lakers to give him a guarantee that they will draft Bronny. And if that guarantee is given in the second round, that Bronny will enter. If not, Duquesne, keep an eye on that. Duquesne is where LeBron's high school coach just retired from, and the guy that's replacing him is really, really in tight with the James family. So they're saying that if he can't secure the guarantee from the Lakers to draft him, because no one else is going to draft him, it's the Lakers or bust, that Duquesne could be a landing spot for him. And if he does declare, they're basically saying that means that he has pressured the Lakers into doing it. And boy, would you want to get drafted in the second round of the NBA and have everyone know that the only reason that you are there is because your dad forced his team to draft you?
I don't mind that.
I would not.
I don't mind that as much as once I got out there, I don't want to be embarrassed. Like if I get playing time, like I don't want it to be embarrassing.
Well, I
want to be able to keep up.
Well, he's not going to get playing time. He can't keep up in the Pac-12.
Yeah, but LeBron wants to play with him.
Well, I think it's one thing to get a guarantee to draft him. I think it's a whole other thing. I don't think even LeBron can force someone to play a player that played 19 minutes and couldn't really stay on the floor not arguably the worst Power 5 conference and one of the worst school. Like that, he's undersized. He shoots like 27% from behind the arc at the collegiate level. Oh, and by the way, and I'm not throwing this out to be mean. Think about this. If he gets drafted, he will be the worst player to ever get drafted. And on top of that, he died. He had cardiac arrest.
Well, he'll have to be cleared by the NBA.
But imagine
on that front.
Imagine if I told you someone literally collapsed and died for a moment, was revived. There's that health struggle, that he's undersized, he can't shoot, and that he couldn't stay on the floor for one of the worst teams in the worst conference, and he was entering the NBA draft. It'd be the most ludicrous thing that you could throw out there, and yet a lot of people think that it is a real possibility that LA drafts him simply to make LeBron happy. If I'm Bronny James, that would be the last thing I want, because you will be the laughing stock. I mean, who wants that? Wouldn't you want to carve your own?
Why don't we just wait and see what happens? How about that?
I mean, this is such a crappy situation that just upsets me so much that this is tampering, right? This is literal tampering that we're hearing about with LeBron, a deal to draft a player. Like, is this not tampering in the NBA? I thought that they weren't supposed to have these types of conversations.
Schulte.
But apparently when it's LeBron, it's okay. Stop. God.
I love it.
This is stupid.
I hate both of your opinions on this. Let's just let it play out. Let Bronny grow up a little bit. He'll come back to college. Maybe he'll go to Duquesne. Maybe he'll go to Oregon. Maybe eventually we'll get a great moment where in the NBA down the road, Bronny and LeBron play together.
Rob, letting it play out would not be declaring for the NBA draft before you're ready.
He's just trying to get evaluated. He knows he's not ready for the NBA.
Well, then why do you want to get evaluated?
He wants to see what they say.
He knows.
I think everyone knows what they're going to say.
Exactly, which is why he said it the way he said it. It's like, I'm going to enter the portal as well. I mean, we all know he's going to be back in college.
Unless his dad can force the Lakers to draft him. I mean, this wasn't like some blowout. This is like NBA insiders that are saying that LeBron is actively trying to
I'm
get
not
this
saying
secured.
That's not true. Let's just wait before we freak out and yell at the radio people.
Even though you're yelling at radio people.
Shut up!
Now? Wow.
Coming up next, I don't even know.
Scared.
Joey Harrington at 5:30. Open Seggy next on The Fan. Schultze gave himself his own nickname. It makes me wonder if anyone has informed him that Schultz, pronounced the same, is a common name brand for a portable toilet.
A Schultz or a Schultze?
I don't know. I don't know. I've never heard of that.
Really?
Yeah, there is
What do you think about that?
No, there's a porta potty brand out there that I'm pretty sure has that, and he's giving me information that like it's new that I don't have it. No, buddy.
Yeah, right here.
Well, he just said he thinks about that.
Well, I didn't try to brand this on me myself. This was a Brandon Sprague thing that told me, hey, you know what, dude? If you're gonna say your name's Schultze, just lean into it. I've been going by Schultze since I was the Hops MC. It says Schultze on the back of my Hops jersey.
Well, why are you getting all hot and bothered about it?
Because they're getting hot and bothered.
Hey, Schultz portable toilets right
He's
here in
just
Portland.
talking about Schultz.
Hey, they've got 5-star.
Schultze.
They've got
What?
5-star reviews though. If you're gonna be named after a portable
Hey,
crapper,
dude, you
at
want
least
your
it's
name out there.
Yeah.
I want the portable toilets to be ROPs.
No.
Hey, I could
Taking
get
a soup.
Hey, I'm gonna go to a ROP.
Yeah.
I gotta stop the ROP.
I like it.
I could get the portable toilet company to sponsor a show for me. Let's go. Be like Schultze, brought to you by Schultz.
Yeah, why not?
Wow, that'd be perfect, actually.
Follow up on Jim Steinman.
Yeah, who knew?
He is dead. Rest in peace.
Super dead. The great Jim Steinman.
Died in 2021. He was the writer of Total Eclipse of the Heart.
Mhm.
And we got on to that because in the club we're going to talk about the Total Eclipse of the Heartland.
Eclipse, please.
Which is coming on Monday. He also wrote, I wanted to give Jim Steinman his due because not only did he write Total Eclipse of the Heart, he also wrote Air Supply's Making Love Out of Nothing at All.
Another great tune.
Meatloaf's I'd Do Anything for Love, but I Won't Do That.
Who knew? He also wrote Bette Midler's Heaven Can Wait.
Yep. And Barry Manilow's Read 'em and Weep.
Holy hell.
Come on.
Jim Steinman.
The guy's a genius.
And by the way, you should look up what Jim Steinman has going on because.
Well, he's dead.
Well, no, I'm saying just in life because I said that Bonnie Tyler kind of terrified me. You should see what Jim Steinman had going on towards the end of his life because he also. I'm trying to describe it like if you. He's got like an Andrew Dice Clay thing happening for himself. A lot of leather. It's something else. Jim Steinman had no idea. Rest in peace.
Do you like that song, that Meatloaf song, I'd Do Anything for
I
Love?
can do.
Do you like that?
The chick in that video.
You like that?
Is an absolute smoke show. Do I like it?
Yeah.
I don't dislike it. Does that count? I understand why it's popular.
I don't think there's a tune that I ever have gone more back and forth on than that song.
Really?
Because I'll rock out to it. I mean, it's great.
Yeah, I will do.
Anything,
I still don't know what he won't do. What is like? Is there a?
He won't do that though.
Well, do we? But is that referring to something? Do we know? Has that ever been answered? Schultze, when you're done with your toilet, will you look that up and see if anyone's ever answered what he won't do for love?
Yeah, I'll look at Dr. Google. I am staring at porta potties with my name on it, though. It's kind of
Are
weird.
you really? All right.
It's like, oh, okay.
I'm trying to think of the song that I go back and forth. Like, so you can't decide whether it's good or bad, or that you like it.
Whether I like it or not. I mean, I'll rock out to it. I know the words to it. It's just.
I have
and
that.
then sometimes I listen to it. I'm like, oh my
Boy, I have that with a lot of songs, to be honest with you. Like, you ain't seen nothing yet. Like that. Like,
baby, you
Yeah,
just
like-
ain't seen nothing yet.
there's times if that comes on, I'll be like, hell yeah. And other times I'm like, really? Like this was ever popular?
What about this? Dave Single, Dave Single,
Get it
order
for
in
a
the
buck.
app.
Look, let me just say this.
Get
Again,
it for a buck.
for the record. First off, that song slaps. There is something about fast food. Like, no one does jingles better than fast food. I remember the BK, Burger King was dominating the market for the longest time. And now, like, Wendy's has this.
BK,
Have it your way. And then
You rule.
And then we had the tender bacon crisp ranch thing.
That
the dairy-
was great, but that was only for a short time.
That was great. Like, they get it.
Dave Single, Dave Single,
Get it
order
for
in
a
the
buck.
app.
Oh,
Yeah.
the tender crisp bacon cheddar. That's like from like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Pull up that song.
Dude,
and
I
it's
love
look.
the
great.
tender
Dude,
crisp bacon cheddar ranch.
That thing is
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Great song.
Yeah, it's great.
From
Your fingers,
Darius
you'll be
Rucker.
Yeah, Darius Rucker.
licking.
Hootie.
There's
sang it.
lettuce and tomatoes, red onions if you choose.
Yeah.
The fact that I just remember that is sad.
Very much so. Very much so.
Oh, by the way, Vancouver Ford text line, the Schultze toilet is so popular in construction sites, it's kind of like Xerox. Like, they just call him a Xerox. People just call him the Schultz. See, like
That's great branding.
that is great
That is
branding.
good. I'll take it.
Yeah, when you have achieved that level, like, hey, I'm going to go make a Xerox of something, now I'm just going to go to the Schultz. I like it. I'm going to start calling my toilet the Schultz.
Do you think they say they're going to take a Schultz?
Is it an urban legend? Isn't the guy that developed it John Crapper?
Yeah.
Isn't that where
we've talked about this?
Isn't that true,
Yeah,
though? Like, you're taking
that's
a crap?
truth.
Yeah. John Crapper.
Thomas Crapper.
Thomas Crapper. See, that's great. Like, if you're the...
He founded a plumbing equipment company.
If you're the great-great-grandson of John Crapper, are you proud of that? Like, seriously, your name's Crapper? You're like, hell yeah, it is. You know who my great-grandfather was? Thomas Crapper. Deal with it.
Thomas Crapper died in 1910.
Wealthy guy? Or just...
Yeah.
No? All right. So I wonder if, like, there's a bunch of Crapper money out there. You know.
This says, on his Wikipedia page, there is a tab for origin of the word crap.
Mm-hmm.
And it says, it has often been claimed in popular culture that the profane slang term for human bodily waste, crap, originated with Thomas Crapper because of his association with laboratories.
Right.
A common version of this story is that American servicemen stationed in England during World War I saw his name on cisterns and used it as army slang, i.e., I'm going to the crapper.
Makes sense.
Because he's a British guy.
Yeah.
The word crap is actually of Middle English origin and predates its application to bodily waste. Its most likely origin is a combination of two older words, the Dutch krappen, to pluck off, cut off, or separate, and the Old French crapper, siftings, waste, or rejected matter. In English, it was used to refer to chaff.
Oh.
And also to weeds or other rubbish.
So it's just coincidence that Thomas Crapper, like, invented the toilet and that we were already using crap?
I'm going to go with the serviceman theory.
I'm with
that has to be a thing.
That has to be a thing. There's no way that that's just random.
All right, let's get...
there's a segment for you.
Let's get Joey in here.
Let's do it.
Joey Harrington is back, guys.
What?
And we'll find out what happens in Italy with Joey next. Here is Schulte.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
This update is brought to you by the Portland Winterhawks. Playoff hockey's here. Reserve your tickets with the new Chase the Dream playoff package or learn more at winterhawks.com. First on the Fan, the Portland Trailblazers in Washington, D.C. taking on the Wizards right now. They are leading with about 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. 71-62 their score. DeAndre Ayton going off so far. Already has a double-double with 24 points and 10 rebounds. Moving on to the college hardwood, the women's Final Four in action right now. You got South Carolina undefeated taking on NC State. It's been a pretty close one so far at the end of the third quarter. South Carolina, though, finally pulling away 61-37, their lead over NC State. Camila Cardoso, you did hear Isaac and Suk talking about coming back in the second half after suffering an injury at the end of the first. She has gone off for 22 points and 11 rebounds so far. The Mariners in Milwaukee for their first road trip of the season. They're facing off against the Brewers. You got Logan Gilbert and Freddie Peralta on the bump. Right now, you're looking at a scoreless game in the bottom of the second. Logan Gilbert so far pitching a pretty good first inning. No strikeouts to this point. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
Do it every morning. Dirt and Spray. Weekdays 6 to 9 a.m. on Portland's sports leader, 1080 The Fan. It's time for Who's Leading the Charge. A look under the hood at the coaches, players, and teams getting it done. Brought to you by Battery Exchange.
Fastball is lifted into that wind. On a normal day, it's no doubt. It is still enough to go for Dansby Swanson. You know that he crushed it when it gets out on this afternoon.
Former Hillsboro Hop, Dansby Swanson, Cubs over the Dodgers 9-7.
Number 1 overall pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Was he?
Yeah.
Yes, by the D-backs.
Yeah, I think he was the number 1 overall pick.
He's a good little player.
Yeah.
You know.
Look at you. Well, he helped lead him to a win over the Dodgers.
Power up your spring battery at Battery Exchange. Mention code BXT10 at checkout for 10% off your entire purchase in April. Online at batteryexchange with an X.com.
Taste the warmth of the season with Victorico Mexican Food's flavorful homemade style pozole. Hey, it's Dusty. For a limited time only, Victorico's is offering pozole. It's perfect on a chilly day. Pick up your favorites in store.
Where have you been?
Where have you guys been?
Sri Lanka.
I have not been there.
Boom. See?
There you go.
My kitchen.
But you may want to check behind the fridge. I left you something.
Oh dear.
I have been at Stadio Olimpico, and no, not the one from Something About Mary, but the one in Rome for the Lazio Juventus match.
Whoa.
Yeah, we saw some video that a little birdie sent us.
Whoa.
And dude, that looked, especially because I know your kids are soccer crazed. Dude, that is such, like, European soccer environments, there's just not many things that are like them.
Well, yeah, because there's road flares and M80s like going off in the. We were out in, like, call it the tailgate section, right on the. Okay, so we pull up on. We're walking over the bridge over to the stadium and like see the like caravan of police officers leading buses in, and we're like, oh man, we got here right as the team has shown up. Nope. Those are the away fans for Juventus that needed a police escort to come in. So the Lazio fans didn't beat the living hell out of them. And they had their own little section over there, on what would have been kind of the southwest side of the stadium. And that's where they stayed. Like, that was their bar. And their buses were literally escorted in by the police so that there wasn't like some massive fight, I guess. And then we walked to the other side of the stadium, and it is like, imagine like the Autzen parking lot filled with like bars, right? But then there's like people like walking around selling beer out of coolers, like, just with ice on the street, and then, selling flags and shirts, and people are lighting off road flares, and they're blasting music. And I said to my youngest, I said, hey, Emmett, this is a pretty amazing atmosphere, isn't it? He's like, yeah, amazing if you like a bunch of drunk people throwing beer bottles. Well, you got a point. There you go. Yeah.
Which I do. That's why I love European soccer.
You clearly have not taken him to an NFL game.
Yeah, they go to a Raider game.
It's a little different. But then you get in. Like you get into the stadium, and I mean, it is, and it sounds like, I was about to say this, and then I was like, man, that sounds kind of stupid. But it's like one giant song. Like they just sing, and it's this, I don't even quite know how to describe it. It's, on one hand, it's like incredibly unifying and passionate. On the other hand, like there's like an edge to it. Like there's a, yeah, you come over and try and make fun of our song and see what happens. Like there's, I don't know. It's just no atmosphere like, and I was telling you a minute ago, like we went to Liverpool, Man City, Liverpool last year at the Etihad in Manchester, and that was incredible. That was amazing. The soccer was phenomenal. But the fans weren't like this. Like, to get a ticket to this game, like I had to not only like, mark who I'm rooting for, but then like give passport information and ID, and like they made sure that if you showed up and sat in this section, you were not going to be cheering for the wrong team. Like they are hardcore. Well, they will not sell you a ticket if you are going to be cheering for somebody else.
Yeah, when I was in NFL Europe and we went to a game in the Netherlands, and I don't remember the name of the teams, it was 25 years ago, but they gave them to us as they let us do it as a thing through the the Scottish Claymores. But the level of disclaimers that we had to go through, like we had to do like a seminar on how to behave at the game and what to do and what not to do. And we thought it was kind of silly. Like we were like, this is stupid. Like, what are we doing? And then we got there and we saw the razor wire and like the little cage that they put the visiting section in. And we were like, oh yeah, it's really hard to describe. We have nothing like it in this country. There's just nothing. And you're right in that it's fun, but there's an element of danger to it. But I think that kind of adds to some of the excitement, doesn't it?
Oh, there were multiple, and I say M80 because I don't know what else to describe it. Like massive explosions within the stands. Like just so there is literally some danger to it. It is. I was going to say something, and then I forgot. Oh yeah. So if everybody's if you know a soccer team from Rome, it's going to be AS Roma, right? It's AC Milan, it's Inter Milan, it's Juventus, and it's Roma. And so I told somebody we went to the Juve Lazio match, and that we were rooting for Lazio. And he's like, Lazio, what are you doing? You root for Roma. I said the match was at Lazio. It's not like we had any, this was spring break. It just happened to coincide with that's who was playing. Well, why wouldn't you root for Juventus? I said, because I didn't want to get my kids beat up. Like that's, that's the thought behind it is like, I'm not going to take my kids into a place. Sure, they had Weston McKennie and Tim Weah, U.S. national team members playing for Juve, but I'm not going to go into the Lazio stadium with my kids wearing Juve colors and risk them getting punched in the face. That would not be a responsible thing to do as a parent.
Now, wait, how much were tickets, if you don't mind me asking?
We got them for about 85 bucks.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
That's not bad at all.
Yeah.
At all.
No.
That's. I went to London once and looked into Chelsea tickets because our flat was right by the stadium.
Really
oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm not going to that game. I
Wanted
to experience
there's the thing too is Chelsea is a small, Stamford Bridge is tiny stadium there. They play, Lazio and Roma share the stadium. They play at Stadio Olimpico there, where they had the 1960 Olympics, and it's 78,000 people, and it's interesting how it's set up. But yeah, there were tickets available.
Now,
at a reasonable price.
How did the Harrington family become, especially you being a football guy, how did the family become such a soccer crazed fam?
It was, the boys played soccer when they were younger, right? They as most kids do. I played soccer until I could play football. And there was just a point where they didn't necessarily want to switch over to football. They were enjoying soccer, and I wasn't going to push it, partly because I wasn't sure whether I wanted them to play, with all the concussion stuff going on, and, all the surgeries and everything I've been going through. But also because I liked the fact that if they played soccer, they had something that was their own. They had something that they could be the expert in. They had something that, instead of me telling them what to do, and it's like, God, shut up, Dad, leave me alone. They got to be the expert, and they got to educate me. And, I got to be, rather than being the dad who played in the NFL and now kids have to live up to expectations, I just got to be the dad sitting on the sideline, right? And cheering on my kids for something that they love to do. And the more I got into it, and the more I watched, and the more I appreciated, and the more I learned, the more, I guess, passionate I became about it. And it's something, it's become something that's fun and unique for our family, which I think is kind of cool.
It is. I have something similar to that. My kids in hockey. Like, my kids are not huge sporting kids, but they love hockey. And same thing, whenever we go, when we go to travel, we go see NHL games, and we go see the Winterhawks, and my kids all have a different team that they root for, and I really related to that. I couldn't have said that better, that it's something that's theirs and not, well, my dad played and therefore I was forced to do it. Because how many times when someone's like, oh, your kids must love football, and it's like, well, no, I think that was a very, very, for me, that was a very poignant thing you said.
Yeah. And I wasn't quite sure, because the I don't want to say tough, but the difference, or, you always grow up thinking, oh, my kids are going to play football, and, I'll coach them, and it's going to be this great bonding moment, and we'll sit. You never really know how it's going to turn out, right? And I think the best part is that I've gotten to learn something. I've gotten to learn something new. I've had the chance to learn a new sport, to experience something else, to, I don't know. I don't want to say have my eyes opened, but, it's, life is about, at least for me, is about branching out, is about trying something outside the box, is about learning something new. And this was, this was new for me, and I love it.
Well, it is the most popular sport in the world.
Yeah.
Footy.
Well, there's that. I mean, if you want to go along that line, then I guess it's technically not new.
And I think we're lucky here in Portland. Like, I go to most of the Timber games. I'm fortunate enough to do that, and it's a great environment. And while it's not world-class soccer, those are really fun games to go to, and I think you get a small taste of what it's like to see, big boy soccer. But getting a chance, I think if we had more Europe, if our kids and just regular sports fans had a chance to taste European big time soccer, as much as we've grown the game here in this country, in the last 30 years, there would be nothing that would grow it faster than if we could, as masses, get to experience a little bit of that environment of what it's like to go to a big time European game.
Yes, I will say the environment for sure. And I would say, although if Americans watch too much Italian soccer, then they might get turned off really quick, because the Italian defensive style was horrifically boring. Oh my God. So they went through 92 minutes and 55 seconds of the match without, you could count on one hand the number of good attempts on goal they've had. Then all of a sudden they throw a ball across the front of the net, finds a dude's head and buries it in the back with, probably 5 seconds left in the match. And the place went absolutely crazy. My new best friend Lorenzo grabs me from behind and starts shaking me up and down, and all of a sudden you're best friends with everybody in the stadium, and you're screaming and yelling, and I'm trading my Timbers scarf for his Lazio scarf. It's the environment for sure, but Italian soccer is not fast by any means.
I wonder why they don't play more games in the U.S. I mean, I know the U.S. leagues are trying to play games in different countries. I mean, I was in L.A. one time, and my buddy took me to Man U, and gosh, I don't even remember who they played, but there was 100,000 people there. I mean, it was a huge deal at the Coliseum there, and it was awesome. I mean, you're right. The experience is whoa, these guys are freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Why don't they play more here?
Well, I know a lot. They won't.
Italian fans or Italian teams, or just
any of them?
Because you have, during the season, I guess they play at home, but they do have exhibition tours in the summertime, and they bring those teams over. And
the problem with it is they won't play on turf, and a lot of our big stadiums are turf. And the big guns, the big players, imagine telling Tom Brady that he has to go to Germany and play against lesser competitions or a preseason game. They're just...
Well, we play regular season games over there.
Yeah.
Would they put regular season games here?
Probably not.
That'd be the next.
Well, we got the World Cup coming though, so
no, that's true.
So I mean, that's
and that's the thing too, is there are opportunities to see these guys play, and it's different, and it took me a while to figure this out. Where I would say, I'd ask, when is, I'll use a team. When is when's Man City playing this week? Oh, well, they play on Saturday. Oh, great. But they also play on Tuesday. Well, they play another game for the Premier League? No, they play in the Champions League. Well, what's the Champions League? Oh, well, it's the other league that if you qualify, then you play against all the others. Oh, so the teams play against the other teams from around the other countries? Well, yeah, but then the national teams also play. Wait. So they play on Saturday, but then they play on Tuesday, and then they take a break and they play for the national team. They have so many different tournaments and clubs and national team and professionals going on at the same time that by the time August gets around, I'm sure all they want to do is just put their feet up and take a break.
Yeah.
That's fair. Now, this was our poll question today. If football ceased to exist, what sport would take over in the U.S.?
Ooh.
Do you think soccer would?
No.
We don't have good enough players.
So, I mean, by default, it'd probably be basketball?
Basketball.
It has to be basketball.
Because I think baseball is still a little too slow for the youngs.
Yeah, it would be basketball. It's the best in the world. It's fast paced. It's the second most popular game, and again, it's a little bit like soccer in that everyone can play it. There's an element to the reason why soccer is so popular around the world is every corner of the world, all you need is a couple kids and a ball, and basketball has an element of that. Whereas football, baseball, hockey, it's a bunch of people. There's a bunch of equipment. It's tough. That eliminates a lot of people from playing it. And it's not the international aspect of the NBA too is it's like soccer. It's a global game.
I would be curious though, and I ask anytime I come across somebody who played soccer professionally, I always ask them how can we live in a country of 2.8 billion people and our national team loses to countries whose population is 2.8 million people. There's a certain I am always curious. If you and I asked that because I was going to ask you if football ceased to exist today or if football never existed. Right? So have we have all those athletes who were playing football, if that didn't exist, would they have played soccer years ago? I don't know. And I'd be curious to see where U.S. soccer would be if that was the case.
See, I'm a big believer in that. And I try not to do the ugly American thing and like, oh, well, we would dominate and blah, blah, blah. But there is an element of, look, we have 330 million, 350 million people, phenomenal athletes. And yes, it might take a couple generations, but if you took NBA, if you took NFL players and from a young age, you gave them world-class coaching and all they did, you can't tell me that 6'6" Kobe Bryant wouldn't be an unbelievable soccer player. You couldn't tell me that the 6'9", the 6'9" lanky guy wouldn't be the best goaltender. LeBron James could be the best goaltender in the world. It's just, or have him play defense. No one would get by him. But it would take a couple generations. But right now, our best don't play soccer. It's just, and when we do get an occasional kid that's elite, he doesn't play here. He goes over and plays overseas.
Except for the Harrington boys.
There you go. Well, we have this we hear this all the time about Olympic sports and tennis. Norway and Finland produce some of the best winter sports in the world, and their countries have 7 people in them. Well, it's because everybody they have there wants to do that, and here we don't. It's it's important to you and what your country values.
There you go.
Okay. When we come back, we're going to find out definitively what is the best thing about Italy from Joey Harrington. Sans footy.
Yeah,
because we just talked about that. So you got to take that out.
Yeah.
We'll be right back with Joey Harrington. Fridays with Joey, story time here on 1080 The Fan.
It's time for a Ducks Report, the inside story on Oregon athletics, brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here.
Well, the Duckies released their color schedule. Did you see that?
The color schedule?
Yeah, that's a new thing. They throw out the color of the jerseys and the color that they want the fans to wear for each game.
That's been released.
That's a new thing. It's out.
Oh, well, they have new uniforms coming this year.
Yes.
They're calling them Generation O.
Yes.
But we don't know what those look like yet.
Okay. Mods PDX, the future of building is here.
The Caitlin Sensation.
The Hawkeyes are headed back to the
What outside of that? Because this is your first trip to Italy, right?
Emily and I went 15 years ago.
Oh, okay.
We took Jack when he was 8 weeks old.
Ooh. Okay, so what's
not the smartest move, but we did it.
Well, 8 weeks. They don't really do anything. You know, you can just
you just strap them to your chest and just walk around.
Exactly. So, what is the best thing about Italy, or best place in Italy?
Boy, it's a tough question. For a whole bunch of reasons. Well, you bring the hard hitters. One, like Rome is different than Florence, is different than Milan, is different than Naples. Like, and I haven't been to all those places. I've only been to a couple. But I think, at least for me, you're walking through these streets. You're walking down the street, and you turn the corner, and it's like, oh, well, there's the Colosseum, right? You got the big, say the big ticket items, right? But there's so much history, even in just like the little neighborhoods, where we were there over Easter and went to Mass at the Santa Maria in Trastevere there. And it's a church that was built in 237.
Whoa.
And then it was modified, but the existing church was built in the 12th century on that foundation. So we've got, we're talking about stuff that's been there for 1,000, 2,000 years. And you've got this incredible mix of like ancient Rome, which has some crossover with Egypt. It's really interesting in that there are 13 ancient obelisks all around Rome, some of which are actually from Egypt because it was part of the Roman Empire. But then it's like you've got the Michelangelos and the Bernini and like the Raphael and like all of that Renaissance stuff mixed in with the ancient Egypt that's also mixed in with like the current food and wine, which is also mixed in with the soccer. Like, it's just this incredible, like, rich cultural experience, right? You can truly, like, there are some incredible things about the United States. There are incredible things about Oregon, but amazing things about our country. But there's nothing that currently exists, or I should say that I have, we don't have monuments that go back for 2,000 years. Right, that's the thing. Like, these incredible works of art that would be the centerpiece of the Portland Art Museum are literally on the street. Every time you turn the corner in Rome, like it's like, oh, this fountain was designed by, it was made by Bernini, who did the altar at St. Peter's Basilica. And the water coming in, just from an aqueduct from that was built by Hadrian when they came back from defeating the barbarians in 2,000 years ago, and this public works project that's provided clean drinking water to the city for 2,000 years. Like, there's those kind of things that are just absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, we lose sight of all that over here, don't we? Yeah. You gotta go over it. It's like culture on steroids.
Yeah. Yeah, the first time you walk through a graveyard and you see a tombstone and you start looking at the date and you're like, and then you realize our country from 1776, and you look at one there and you're like 11. Yeah.
Now, I assume you went to the Vati there in Rome.
We did go to the Vatican. Yeah, it's
little overrated.
Well, so here's the thing. When Emily and I went 15 years ago, we had a great experience. There are post-COVID, and we were talking with our tour guide, she said that they probably sell nearly double the amount of tickets. It was shoulder to shoulder. I mean, you're standing there in the Sistine Chapel trying to have a moment and, getting elbowed by somebody else behind you and, smelling the garlic breath.
Cigarette smoke.
Yeah. Well, not in the chapel, but everywhere else.
The breath.
I've heard that it can be
It's busy
underwhelming because of that.
It's very busy. You didn't see the Pope? Pope wasn't rolling around like high-fiving people or anything?
No, we stopped in and just said, hey, just Papa Francesco. It's like, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
Well, that's the thing about the Vatican that I didn't like is because I'm not a religious man, but you go to the Vatican, it's pretty cool. It's like I get it. I wanted to see more of like, hey, what? I mean, I'm not saying you got to introduce me to the damn Pope, but they run you through some cool areas, but you don't see.
I've heard that too.
The
about
real Vatican.
I've heard that too about like with going to see the Mona Lisa or anything like that. Like a lot of these things that. It's like, you mentioned the Sistine Chapel, that it kind of eliminates some of the coolness of it because you're there with 8 million people and you don't really get to have
the coolest thing is the art.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. Yeah. Like on the ceilings and the walls. It's like he said, that would headline the Portland Art Museum, and it's just right there on your left as you get a sandwich. It's like, it's crazy there.
I will say, though, that we went to the Colosseum, that we went to the Vatican on our first full day there. Then we went to the Colosseum the next day and got to go down below.
Yeah.
And we got to go down below into the areas where like they would have the old boat docks that when they'd come out and flood the floor and have the naval battles. We got to stand there, and the ramp isn't there anymore, but like stand there and look up what would have been the ramp that the gladiators walked out of, and the tunnel that went back to the gladiators' barracks, like down, like that was up above in the Colosseum, people all over. I mean, just again, not as bad as the Vatican, but I mean, it was people all over the place.
That stuff have
but down below was really cool.
Does that stuff have like you go to Gettysburg? I'm not like I'm not a ghost guy or whatever, but like when you're standing there, is there just like I don't know, like a presence? Like does it hit you like you can feel it, like almost you can see it and feel it, like what that would have been like?
Are you talking about like
like
where everybody died?
Yeah,
like,
right. Like there's a belief from a lot of people that like that stuff stays with a place. Like it becomes part of its DNA. And whether you're a religious guy or spiritual or whatever, but like they're just like I said, and I'm not really one of those guys, but sometimes you go places and like there's a vibe, there's a feeling, even though it happened so long ago, you can't help but feel it. When you walk into those places.
The ghost of Russell Crowe when I was there. Does that count?
Really?
I didn't feel that at the
at
the Coliseum. I didn't feel that.
Because like when you go to Gettysburg and you stand on the field, it's there. When you stand in like Olympic Stadium in Germany and like you stand on the pulpit where Hitler, gave his speech, like that stuff is burned in. You can't Auschwitz. There's places that you just go and I don't know. There's just a feeling. I was wondering, like, I've never been to the Coliseum. I've always wanted to go. If it was one of those places where you walk in and there's just an immediate, what happened there.
I think because it was for sport, right? The places that you've mentioned, whether it's Gettysburg or, Emily and I went to Dachau years ago. Yeah. Those are whether it's war or genocide, like those are horrific things that happened in humanity. Now, not try, say you're going to be ignorant enough to say that everybody who walked into the Colosseum died of their own, of their own choice, but there was an element of sport to it, which I think gives a different vibe, and it's more about the architectural. Just this incredible piece of architecture that has stood the test of time, that has literally stood for, 2,000 years, that, it's more of a celebration of what the place was as opposed to a heaviness of what happened there.
Well, while we're on the subject of non-football sports, you going to catch the Caitlin Clark show tonight? Is that?
You better believe it.
Yeah, I was wondering if the Harrington household.
The only March Madness game I got to watch was we were flying back. We went Rome to Chicago and then Chicago back to Portland. And on the Chicago flight home was the Iowa LSU game. So I did get to see that.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's the only one you needed to see.
Are the kids into it?
Into basketball?
The Caitlin Clark, or just that whole phenomenon?
You know, again, kind of back to our point, I asked my youngest, it was a couple of months ago. I was like, Emmett, I know your favorite sport's soccer, but what's your second favorite sport? And he kind of looked, up in the air, kind of had pensive, like thoughtful. I could see him like running through a list, and he's like, nothing. I was like, what do you mean nothing? And he's like, yeah, I just don't really like sports.
Okay.
Like, sweet, buddy. You do you. Yeah. So to answer your question, no. He doesn't really follow Caitlin
They
Clark.
don't care. Okay.
I'm guessing
But
if
you know what? He reads a hell of a book, I'll tell you that.
Well, I bet you if you had girls that same age, it's a big deal for 10, 12-year-old girls right now.
Oh, yeah. If you had girls at Emmett's age,
they'd be all about it. This would be different.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure. And I love that it's being celebrated.
I do too. It's pretty fun to watch. All right. Well, welcome back, and grazie.
No, gotcha.
You're supposed to say
I would more go mi dispiace non bene parlo italiano ma posso provarci. That's more of where the correct response is I'm very sorry. My Italian is not very good. Parla inglese. Do you speak English? But I can try.
When Rob was doing it, you sounded like Brad Pitt from Inglourious Basterds when they're doing when Colonel Hans Landa is outing Brad Pitt. That was Rob's Italian right there.
Grazie.
Grazie.
Prego. Okay, we'll talk to you next week. Good to have you back. Thank you.
All right, see you guys.
All right, that's Joey Harrington each week here on the show, brought to you by Mods PDX. The future of building is here. Something kind of cool they've done for that solar eclipse on Monday. We'll tell you about that next in the club on The Fan.
Business. It's all the things
All right, run a little late, run a little long.
Just a scooch.
I blame the producer, Schultzy.
Not able to corral anything other than that sweet feathered dew.
I appreciate
Hell
you.
yeah, bro.
That's right.
It's all that matters, right? If I can do my hair, then I can just screw up the rest of my life, and everything will come together.
Schultzy always gives hints of. He gives hints of, sadness in his commentary. You just kind of read between the lines, like, man, I hope he's okay.
I'm not trying to make a call for help or anything out there, I promise.
Well,
hey, gambling hotlines are seeing like a 500% increase. I saw that today. Cries for help. Like all the gambling hotlines, I guess, are getting overwhelmed with calls. Ohio's was up like 500%.
I actually saw a piece, I believe it was on like Last Week Tonight with John Oliver a couple weeks ago, but they showed a clip of somebody that accepts calls on those gambling lines, and it's actually tough to really talk to some of those people because it's like late at night, 3, 4 a.m. It's just somebody sitting at home basically answering their own cell phone, and they don't really try too hard to talk to you.
Well, I mean...
What's your problem?
Pretty much.
Who'd you take? Stupid bet.
Well, what are you supposed to, like, what do you want someone to do? Do you really think they're going to cure you? Isn't the correct, you can't cure them. Isn't the correct thing, like, go, like Google, like, a rehab center and go? Like, if I call you in the middle of the night and I'm like, I'm drunk again, isn't someone's correct response, you should go to meetings? Like who's ever had something cured by a 1-800 number? It's like the guy that's yelling about Jesus through the megaphone on Bourbon Street in New Orleans.
I can think of a few things. You know.
An 800 number solved the problem?
Maybe 900 number.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, are those big still? Since we got porn on the internet?
That can't be a thing anymore, can it?
Right? 900 numbers?
Sex lines?
I don't know.
I'll never forget calling those as a kid just to see what it was.
What?
And
as a kid, you mean like 6 months ago?
6 months ago. But I'll never forget the message. Now it's time to stick it. Oh, your credit card, actually. Let's get your credit card information in there right now. And it's like, oh, you.
I would give anything to
wordplay.
see young. What are we talking, like 14-year-old Schultzy?
Probably like 12 or 13, yeah.
Schultzy just ready to go. Just pants undone, phone in hand, just... He's like, yes! And then hits with the credit card. Just the utter shock of disappointment. Wow.
Pants off, Oregon pullover on.
Pulling a full...
Dutch Bros on the side table.
Just Winnie the Poohing the hell out of that thing. Maybe the Donald Duck if you want to go that road. Shirt pulled up maybe to the armpits. Just prepared to go. He's ready to round that corner, and then he gets hit with an insert credit card number. Oh.
Yeah, I was not prepared to steal my dad's credit card, so no.
Oh. Yeah, I remember those commercials. Like, you'd watch Comedy Central, and literally at night, that's all it was. It was phone sex and the Girls Gone Wild videos. All it was. And I always thought about, like, so apparently this is who's watching Comedy Central at, like, 1 in the morning. Perverts.
I really liked Girls Gone Wild.
You were a big fan, were you?
Yeah.
I mean, my 18-year-old self loved it.
That was a good bit.
Kidding me?
Yeah, and then like Snoop Dogg was in. I think the guy that formed him, I think he got into a bunch of trouble.
Joe Francis?
Joe Francis.
Oh, I believe he's living in Mexico, so he avoids like U.S.
He's a
authorities.
perv, dude.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, look, all I'm saying is a great bit for
for the time being,
a young kid who needed
entertainment.
I understand.
It's like that was great.
I always thought about how horrible it would be. Because this has happened more times than you care to think. Again, some lonely 40-year-old father is like, yeah, my Girls Gone Wild VHS arrived today. He throws that in there, and same thing. He's hitting singles, he's going doubles, he's rounding third, and then like his daughter pops up on the screen from Spring Break Panama. And let's just say he got thrown out at the plate. Or God forbid, hopefully he got thrown out at the plate. Hopefully the inning was over, but... Like, that's happened so many times.
Did you see that Elizabeth Hurley is in a new movie, or maybe it's a show? I don't know. She gears down.
No.
And does a sex scene.
What?
I mean, I don't know if she get. I don't know the extent of it, but her son is the producer. Is the director.
Whoa!
Is the
Whoa,
director.
whoa.
Mom, move your lips here.
Really?
Look like you're having more fun.
What?
Yeah.
That's
a thing. I read about it today.
So you need to look like you're really enjoying it here, but then not so much in about 2 minutes. What the hell?
It's a tough one.
Was there an intimacy coordinator involved there? those are the fad now, right?
Hey man, he's in
Yeah.
charge.
That's just that's oogie. That's a bad. Well, it's like you hear like some gal in porn is like my my dad's my biggest fan. He's my manager, and you're like that. No,
Your dad's not Donald Trump, is he?
No,
That's a little weird.
It's just.
My daughter is the hottest. If she weren't my daughter, I'd probably date her. You know.
Yeah. Well, like I have 2 daughters. And
Yeah, he said that.
He said
did.
that. He said that.
You think he's joking?
No.
No, that is a
said that.
quote. I am not making that.
He said that. I have 2 daughters, and they're both of age. And like, if they came to me and were like, "Hey, Dad, like, hey, this is what I'm doing now," I'd like to believe that I'm mature enough to be like, "Honey, God bless you. I hope you know what you're doing." But the idea that I'm like, "Yeah, let me get involved in this." All right, you need a manager? What can we do? Let's start promoting. Like, no, you're like a corrupt judge at that point. You got to recuse yourself from the case.
Who the hell are you?
You can't. I'm not here to judge. Hey, if that's how you're making your money, but I can't.
A little creepy.
I can't be in charge of subscriptions to the OnlyFans. I can't be moderating
Maybe you can
chats.
just do the accounting part of it.
No, you can't. You can't do any of it.
Didn't Wayne Gretzky disown his daughter for doing some porn or something like that?
Really?
Yeah, I believe Lawrence Fishburne also had the same issue with his daughter.
I remember Fishburne's daughter, and I don't remember him disowning her, but I remember that. Like, she was like, "Hey, this is me." You know, and like I said, if my daughters wanted to, I can't argue. She'd probably be making a lot more money than I am. Denise Richards just released her figures. You know Wild Things, Denise Richards. And
Yeah.
she's old now. She's like 50 or whatever.
She's on Real Housewives.
Is she?
Mhm.
So
She's insane.
she doesn't have a career now. She was just getting money from Charlie Sheen. She was probably short on cash. And her daughter started an OnlyFans.
She seems like kind of a mess.
She is. So her daughter started an OnlyFans, and so Denise Richards was like, "Oh my God, she's making money." So Denise Richards started one of her own.
Nice.
So she goes on there and plays the fiddle to the wonderment of others. She released her figures the other day. I saw this on TMZ. Per month since she launched her OnlyFans, it's been like a year. Denise Richards is making $2 million a month
Really?
on OnlyFans.
Wow.
$2 million. So like
smart play.
It is, and look. I mean, she's already been naked on screen. I know this takes it a step further, but like,
wow.
Who am I to tell someone to not make $2 million a year? And by the way, you work from home. You work from anywhere. Like, what's your job? I blast myself, and weird dudes pay me to do it. How much? $2 million a month. I'm like, well, fire up the OnlyFans. Like,
Wasn't she the one that was in Wild Things
Yeah.
with
Nev Campbell.
Nev Campbell?
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that.
Here we are 30 years later, and she's like, "Hey," and it's probably a bunch of dudes that remember Wild Things that are like, "What is she up to now?" Well, they pay to find out, and apparently people are.
All right, we got to get back on track here. We've got eclipse news. How much would you pay for a unique view of Monday's total eclipse of the Heartland? It is 6:26 on the Fan.
someone asked exactly when the girls stopped going wild, and apparently that was 2014. The company filed for bankruptcy and then sold to a.
Well, it was exploited. What's the word? Exploitative.
Yeah,
Is that the word?
let's go with that. They exploited girls. Yes.
There were a lot of girls that came out afterwards and said that they were underage
Yes.
or certain things were not told to them when they were being
Right.
taped.
In 2014, the girls no longer were wild.
Look, he's a bad dude.
Yes.
But to a young, naive Kansas boy from
Yeah.
from the middle of nowhere, I loved it.
Isn't it crazy though? You think about like now the notion of this, like selling 1 million albums right now for like a musician is like it just doesn't happen. Like no one buys that stuff. No one sells DVDs. In 2021, Girls Gone Wild sold 4.5 million videos and DVDs. God, 4.5 million people spent however with $19.95 or whatever the hell that thing was to order a DVD of Spring Break girls doing whatever the hell.
Well, they just flashing their boobs.
Yeah.
That's really all they would do.
No,
they would make out.
They do more than that. But just know Joe Francis was blessed with a daughter by God. So God kind of gave him the middle finger there so we can all sleep better at night knowing that.
Yeah, that guy's a douchebag, but yeah. So
at one point they did a Girls Gone Wild for Katrina.
Go wild for the water, baby. I don't know. That's weird.
Some proceeds were donated to the Red Cross. That's where Snoop Dogg came in. They brought in Snoop Dogg to give it legitimacy about giving it to the residents of New Orleans.
Rocking you on a Friday. Why did I say that?
Snoop, Doug Stanhope. There were several big names associated with that. Yeah, it's kind of sad.
Okay, so we have an eclipse on Monday, guys.
The eclipse, please.
It's the total eclipse of the heartland. That's what they're calling it because it's going to be the path of totality.
Yes.
Is
You said Monday, right?
It's Monday.
Monday.
Yeah.
Do we know what?
It's like middle of the day. They're saying that the Cleveland Guardians home opener will be the first ever game played during a solar eclipse.
Oh.
So they will be on the field when it happens.
Do they have to turn on the lights or do they just wait for the eclipse to go?
I don't know. Wouldn't that be something if some guy loses a fly ball in the eclipse?
Well, they got to pause, right?
I would assume, right? Unless you just turn on the lights and just have them on, right?
I saw the Yankees game is moved back by 4 hours, so they're not playing during the eclipse. So,
well, Delta Airlines did something pretty. I think this is cool. Now, I don't know how much you would pay for this, but they put together 2 special flights, and they did this. They chose the cities based on the path of totality. So these sold out within 24 hours. One is from Austin to Detroit, and the other one is Dallas to Detroit. And once they get over Southwest Missouri, they're going to bank the plane 30 degrees.
So you can...
And so everybody's going to get, the people on the plane will get 4 minutes to view the eclipse with special glasses on the flight. Now that, dude, that would be pretty effing cool.
How long do you get?
4 minutes.
You get 4 minutes.
Yeah.
But I gotta land. Where am I going?
So you're going Austin to Detroit, or Dallas to Detroit.
Okay.
In a one-way. Okay, so let's guess the cost. They sold out in 24 hours. These are specially just for this.
Just for it.
How much do you think the one-way cost just to get there?
Well, I would assume that normally that flight, that's not a cheap flight. So one way that's going to be $250, I'm guessing. I'm guessing they're jacking this thing up. I'm going to go $450.
$950.
Whoa!
One-way ticket, $950.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Now, I will say the Red Wings are playing right now. If I can catch a Wings game,
well, then you got to get back.
Then I got to get back. That's tough. Is the flight back way cheaper?
Yes. There's nobody on the flight back.
I'm going to look that up. And what day is that?
Well,
Monday, right? Monday. All right. I'm going to look up on Tuesday what it would cost to fly from Detroit one way back to Austin.
Delta.
All right. Let's see what we got here. Let's go Detroit.
All right. Coming up next, a flight was turned around. Was this one warranted? This is a new reason. We have not had this reason yet.
Your answer is always going to be no.
Well, we'll find out. That'll be next. Here's Schultz.
Now, from the Fan Sports Desk, a Sports Center update on 1080 The Fan.
First on The Fan, the Portland Trailblazers in Washington, D.C. to take on the Wizards, and they actually get the win, 108-102, the final. DeAndre Ayton going off for 34 points and 13 total rebounds. Delano Banton adding 21 off the bench, actually close to a triple-double. He had 21 points, 8 assists, and 8 rebounds. Elsewhere on the hardwood, this time in college, one ticket has been punched to the women's Final Four. The South Carolina Gamecocks have beat the NC State Wolfpack 78-59. Camila Cardoso absolutely going off in that one as well. She led the way for South Carolina with 22 points. And then coming up in just a couple of minutes from now, actually, no, excuse me, it did just start. Now UConn does lead Iowa 5-2, 8.5 minutes to go in the first quarter. Caitlin Clark has those 2 points for Iowa so far. And the Seattle Mariners in Milwaukee taking on the Brew Crew. We're looking top 6 right now. The Brewers did take a 3-0 lead in the bottom of the 5th, but the Mariners have tied it right back up thanks to RBIs from Mitch Garver and Mitch Haniger. The Mitch is getting it done. Cal Raleigh with that 3rd RBI. More sports scores and stories in 30 minutes. I'm Schulte at the 1080 The Fan Sports Desk. Listen live or on demand on the Odyssey app, the Fan's desktop player, or tell your smart speaker to play 1080 The Fan.
This is your home for year-round NFL coverage. The Odyssey app and 1080 The Fan.
Hey, it's Suk here on a Friday. Going to give my man Monty from my hometown dealer, Vancouver, a call here real quick. Monty, what are we serving up on this nice little weekend here in Clark County?
We've got the lowest price. We consider it probably the lowest price in the country in your hometown, Jason, at VancouverFord.com. Been here since 1987 in Vancouver, since 1916, buddy. Nobody has sold more vehicles than the Big Ford store in your hometown. We've got Bronco Sports, best selection ever, at $299 a month on a lease. We got those expeditions again, thousands of dollars off. We've got the best inventory we've had, since pre-pandemic, and it's all in your hometown, Jason. No sales tax to the Oregon buyers, just that elite customer service, 6 straight years, according to Ford Motor Company. Before, during, and after the sale for your listeners at the Big Ford store in your hometown, Jason, Vancouver Ford.
No, it does. No one does it better than my guys. I'm telling you, that's why I put my name behind them. So if you're in the market, if you've been thinking about it, now is the time. This is the place. Go check it out, VancouverFord.com. Monty, we'll see you this weekend.
We can't wait.
Make sure that your home's heating and cooling system is being cared for by your local Lennox Premier dealer, Midway Heating Company. Serving Multnomah County, parts of Clackamas and Washington counties since 1959. For a limited time, receive up to $1,700 in rebates, or qualified buyers make no payments, incur no interest for 12 months when financing a new Lennox system. Call Midway Heating Company today at 503-252-4003 or visit us online at midwayheating.com to learn more. Dealer license number CCB 24044.
The Oregonian called Elk Ridge Golf Course the best Northwest golf course you've probably never heard of. In the heart of the Columbia River Gorge National Scenic Area, you won't find better views anywhere. And built on top of an old gravel quarry, so you won't find a drier course in the Northwest. Escape the city. Skip the crowded courses and the terrible traffic. Forget about your work and your worries for a while. Discover Elk Ridge, your new favorite golf course. Book your tee times at elkridgegolfcourse.com. That's elkridgegolfcourse.com.
Don't give wildfire a path to your door. Prepare your home and yard before fire strikes. Clean your roof and gutters of leaves and debris. Limb up trees. Space those plants. Cut your lawn short, and if possible, keep it green. It's called defensible space, and it works. Go to keeporegongreen.org to learn more.
Portland mostly cloudy tonight with a low of 41.
Weather brought to you by Robert Half.
9 out of 10 hiring managers are having difficulty hiring today. Robert Half is here to help. At Robert Half, we know talent. Visit roberthalf.com today.
Club 1080 with Isaac and Sue.
We just stepped out of the shower. He'll be down in a minute. All right, listen, you guys can't go. Did you just say we? What? Did you just say we just stepped out of the shower? I said he. Right, okay.
On 1080, The Fan.
Double sun power! All right. I did some digging. And that damn Delta Airlines.
I dig it.
So it's $900 to take the Eclipse flight.
$950 one way. One way, dude.
One way. So I looked at what it would be
Head coach?
to fly back the next day
What?
to Austin and Dallas. It's $600 and $700 to fly to Austin or Dallas. That whole week.
We're only going to stay a day?
Well, I mean, no matter what, that whole week, that flight, that they have one flight that's nonstop. They have Delta has a flight going to Austin. They got one going to Dallas. And like I said, it's $600 and $699. The very next week and the week after that, if you want that same flight, it's $200.
Yeah, they got you.
Oh, they're well aware of the eclipse and that whole week. So it's like, well, I'll stay an extra day or two. Wrong. They still gouge you.
Wrong. Well, it's supply and demand. I mean, the people wanted to get. I mean, that thing. Both of them sold out in 24 hours. They said.
Yeah. Although, if you wanted to fly Frontier, $186.
Yeah, but Frontier's not going to dip the plane so you can see the.
No, but you could fly Frontier on the way back.
Oh.
And crash, but
you won't catch me dead on Frontier. Pretty sure you have to pay for like a seat as well as your ticket.
Frontier is just Spirit Airlines. It's the same thing.
You could hitchhike back.
There you go.
They used to be good back in the day, not now.
Frontier?
Yeah, I had DirecTV on my flight back when I was
They did.
Yeah, it's super budget airlines.
Not now.
Are they owned by Alaska?
No,
they are not. Frontiers. I don't know. The problem with Frontier and Spirit is like, even if you're like, hey, I don't care, it's cheap, I'm going to get it. You can't have any connecting flights because their flights are so delayed and canceled. You can't rely even on like that you're going to make any sort of connection. So if you're going to do it, you have to have a nonstop on if you're going to fly one of those. And then you just have to plug your nose and bear it.
Okay, so we've got another flight that turned around midair.
Is it because of the eclipse?
An Alaska Airlines flight from Honolulu to Anchorage.
Oh. It's a ways out there.
Yeah, 6-hour flight.
I was going to say, people think that, like, I don't think people appreciate just how far Alaska and Hawaii, like, because we see it on the map, and then, like, you're like, oh, that's not so bad. And then you look at the real map, you're like, oh, yeah, it's a ways.
Well, this one turned around. So they had a 6-hour flight, and they were an hour and a half into the flight.
Okay.
And this is 10:15 p.m. That I think matters too.
Sure.
It's one of the red-eye flights. The sink overflowed.
Oh. What?
Yes.
Like a bathroom sink?
Yes. Well, there's not many other sinks.
Well, there's one that I would assume they got in the galley for the stewardesses, right?
Do they have sinks like that? I don't think so.
I don't know.
I don't know. I don't think they do. But, the bathroom sink flooded the cabin.
Huh.
So there's water. I mean, there is water running all the way down the aisle.
You can't turn off the water?
Well, they did.
Yeah. So we just have a wet ground.
Yeah. And they turned it around.
That's ridiculous.
What is up with that?
Now, I'll say, normally, I think you are ridiculous in your stance of not turning planes around. But this may be the first one that I really agree with you. Who gives a rip that the ground's a little wet?
They said there was probably 2 to 4 inches of standing water that swooshed out as soon as you opened the front door of the lav.
All right, well, I understand. So 2 to 4 inches, that's fine, but that gets dispersed amongst, the galley there or wherever it's. So it's a wet carpet.
It wasn't 2 inches across the whole plane floor.
They said the entire floorboards of the airplane were completely wet.
Okay, I get it. But what is that like? Is there a fear of moisture? What is mold going to grow between then and wherever Anchorage? Yeah, that's ridiculous.
I mean, people's stuff is on the ground. I do, because you are
supposed.
Pick it up. Well, but then you can't hold it during like the takeoff and then landing, right? You're supposed to have.
Let's put it overhead.
That water.
But you run out of room.
That water is only going to affect maybe a row or two.
No, I hear you guys. You're right, but unfortunately, you have to put your stuff. You can't hold it unless it's like an iPad. You got to put it under the seat.
This is an extenuating circumstance.
Who puts anything under the seat? I never put anything under the seat.
I never do that either. I don't know why people do that.
No,
put it overhead.
Under the seat is exactly. That's what the overhead for. Or you just. And by the way, it's in the middle of the flight. We can tell people, hey, I'm sorry, but this one time it's got to go on your lap. Yeah, that's so. Of all the, son of a gun, the Red Wings lost again. They're not going to make the playoffs. I'm very bitter. Of all the reasons to turn a plane around that we have discussed on this program, and there have been many, this might be the dumbest one. A couple rows got some soggy feet.
So would you rather have? So you're already an hour and a half in. So now you have another hour and a half back. Okay.
Yeah.
So you now have 3 hours of flight time. So it's your choice. 3 hours of flight time, to then get another 6 hours of flight time with a dry plane, or just another 3.5 hours.
It's so stupid.
Or I'm sorry, 4.5 hours. Wait, 4.5 hours of flight time with wet floors.
Yeah,
and you get to be at your destination.
But again,
it's not even close.
It's not even close. I hate to. Now I'm agreeing with you. I've agreed with Geraldo, Kim Mulkey, Clay Travis, and now you with a flight. This may be the most egregious one of all time, as I'm agreeing with you about a flight being
Well, they should
turned
never
around.
turn around these flights.
Yes, they should.
Stupid.
This, on the other hand, is dumb because it's
They landed the door plug flight at the destination. Why didn't they just turn around?
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
The door plug came out right at the beginning of the flight.
I thought it was at the end.
No, it was like
No.
10 minutes into the flight.
Yeah, they came back
Oh,
to
I thought it
Portland.
was at the end.
No,
You're
they took off from Portland and went back to Portland.
You think they flew without a door for?
Well, they have to fly. They have to land it. I thought it was 10 minutes out of Portland, and then they landed
They
in
said
Portland.
the saving grace was they were like
Because they found the stuff over, so it was leaving Portland?
Yes, it was
Yeah,
leaving Portland.
it happened at like 12,000 feet out of Portland. And
They
then
said
went
if
back.
that had been like 30,000 feet, there would have been some serious problems. Yeah,
Well, let's keep going.
That would have been bad.
No, with the time given, Rob, I understand it. A soggy floor for 3.5 hours that you just put up with it.
What if it's the toilet and the poopies all over?
Well, see,
I
that
can't smell
you got to
poop
go.
for
But
that
the
long.
sink water is just clean water. It's just water.
Is it?
Yeah, it's sink water.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
So you're saying with if the toilet overflows,
you got to
you got to turn it around?
Yeah, you got to turn that around.
Yeah, see, I'm not turning that
You
around.
you can't have brown water. See, like I'm assuming that this is like in an RV. So in RV you have clean water and gray water.
Yeah.
You can't have gray water. That's the dumper water.
I thought it was called black water.
Yeah, there's there's clean water, gray water, black water.
You can't.
Black water is the poopy water.
You can't have that. You can't. That's a.
Well, no, you can. It's not good. But let's just keep going.
Yeah, see, but if it's a poopy smell, you're gonna get the vomity smell added to that soon because I'm going to puke.
But again, you're going an hour and a half back with it anyway. So now you've got 3 hours with that anyway. Let's just make it 6, and then we're there.
It's actually an hour and a half with the puke.
Yeah, but you got to go back another hour and a half.
Let me ask you this. Someone brings up an interesting one, the Vancouver Ford text line to the ROP theory.
Stupid.
What if one of the engines fell off?
Let's keep going.
See, you got one engine. And most of these planes you can fly on one engine. But you know that if something happens to the other engine, you're effed. And it is an extra
how far
hour.
into the flight are we?
And it's an extra hour and a half to the destination. You have to fly an extra because you got to
So how
go
long
back. Hawaii.
How long is the trip back? So
we're
same trip?
doing Hawaii to Anchorage, so there is nothing in between.
Oh,
right?
yeah, we're dead.
Yeah, if that goes, you're hooped.
Okay.
And it's an extra hour and a half to get to Anchorage, or it's shorter by an hour and a half to go back to Hawaii. You saying to risk the extra hour and a half?
So we've got one engine.
One engine.
And we're going.
You're going Maui.
Another 4.5 hours. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. So let's say.
How long is it going to take to get to Anchorage?
What is it? It's a 6-hour trip. So you are 3.5 or 4 hours to go into Anchorage, right? So it's 2 hours to get back to Maui or 4 hours to get to Anchorage.
Okay.
It's going to be an extra 2 hours you're flying with
Gotcha.
one engine.
Yeah, let's get there. I got stuff to
You
do.
got one engine.
Let's go.
There's no room for failure.
You know what's going to suck is if we're going down on our way back. It's like, well, hell, at least we could have all tried to make it to Anchorage.
I mean,
before we die?
Is this like an engine like American Flight 191 in Chicago where it just went sideways right back into the hangars, or is this like this can still fly?
No, you got one
Come on.
engine. It's gone. Gonzo, you look out and they're like, hey, buddy, hey, we got one engine, boys. Like, we're fine if
That's right.
if that engine stays.
Single engine planes fly fine all the time.
It's true. With these, you can lose an engine and you are fine.
Well, that's why they have backup engines.
Yes.
That's what it's for.
You lose two?
Let's keep going. Is there an island we can land on?
I don't think there's anything in between.
Yeah, what would be?
I don't think.
I mean,
there
we're
is.
we're hooped.
Yes.
Out there.
If you've seen, I mean, you are in the. No, there can't be anything. And if there is, there's nothing big enough to land.
Maybe Sully can land it.
Well, and like you could try to land on the Aleutian Islands, but I don't know if there's I don't know if there's an airstrip big enough because that's the tip. You know, when you look at Alaska, they've got the big long peninsula.
Yeah, but that's all the way up there. Like that.
Yeah, that's.
We might as well just go to Anchorage.
You might as well keep going. Rob's like, we're fine.
Let's get there. I got a cruise I got to make.
I've heard the Bering Sea is nice this time of year if you land just right.
Take some pictures.
By the way, Anchorage to Maui is basically the same distance to across the United States.
6 hours? LA to like.
Well, I looked it up.
How
So
long's LA to
across
New
the
York?
country is roughly
6 hours?
3,000 miles, and Anchorage to Maui, Anchorage to Hawaii is like 2,900 miles. So from a distance standpoint, that's how far Hawaii is out in the middle of nowhere. And you're flying to Anchorage with no wiggle room where it's like, nah, we're going.
I'd take it a step further. Keep going, and with one engine, keep going if the toilet overflows. I'm okay with it.
I love it.
Let's get there.
I'm like, hey, what emergency landing? Nah, we're already there. We're
Well,
risking
there's
it
no.
this-
You're saying there's no emergency landing because there's nothing.
Well, maybe maybe there's an old airstrip off one of the islands, but you're like, keep going to Anchorage. We made it this far.
Maybe we land on an aircraft carrier out there.
Oh yeah, there might be one of those.
I guess there's a way to do it.
There's a huge military base out there. You can land anything on one of those, I'm assuming. My God, they're like floating cities. You can land an
All right.
F-18.
We got to run. We'll wrap it up next on the Fan.
The home of Dirt and Spray.
The beard thing
All right. Well, okay. We got to
another
go.
week of broadcast excellence.
UConn is leading Iowa 19-14.
The game's over.
Caitlin Clark show is not off to a great start. And she was doing the, ow, my arm.
Really?
Yeah. The Rodney Dangerfield.
Got something happening?
Well, I think she likes to act a little bit.
We saw what happened when they stormed the court.
That's right.
Hey, don't trip her, or it'll end up like a Duke story, right? With that guy that complained.
Oh, that little bitch.
Oh, my knees hurt. Oh, wait, I'm starting the next game. Jerk.
All right, Schulte, thanks for filling in.
Yeah, love you guys. I'll be back in a couple weeks.
For Buck. Why? Why will you be back in a couple of weeks?
At the end of the month, Buck is taking a week off, so I will be in for him.
Me too.
Buck needs a week off?
Wait, like from the 29th through the 3rd?
Didn't he just take like 8 months off?
At the 29th through the 3rd, I think we're all off.
This child thing is a scam.
Well, okay.
I'm just going to get
Good
drunk
to know.
on an island somewhere, so I don't know what to tell you.
Well, maybe I'll get to host. I don't know. Who knows?
I don't think anyone's going to be here, dude.
Yeah, Schultz is going to be here. One-man band.
It's your chance, Schultz.
It's my shot. You're like the Sacramento River Cats getting the A's. It's your chance, Schultz. Let's go.
Everybody have a great weekend. We're back Monday, 3 to 7 to Fake It Night.
Friendships of space.